I'm your host, sabrinasalvati. I'm your host, sabrinasalvati. I'm your host, sabrinasalvati. I'm your host, sabrinasalvati. All right. Happy Thursday, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Sab's podcast. I'm your host, Sabrina Salvati. If you're new, I want to let you know that Sab's podcast is a part of Revolutionary Blackout Network. You can catch me there on Thursdays for the Sabby and JB show, and you can catch me here on Tuesday, Thursday, and Sundays. So shout out to everyone watching on YouTube, Rockfin, Twitter, and Rumble. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, the theme is real heroes. Real heroes, not fake heroes. Okay. We are going to start things off with our special guest really quick. I do want to show you what we are discussing tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go ahead and take a look at that thumbnail. Quite a bit to get into. Oh my gosh, ladies and gentlemen. So we have some good news tonight. We have some funny news. The first good news, Abby Martin and the Hague Group. This is a big deal, a huge story that I feel like everyone needs to be talking about right now. We're going to get into that and these agreements that they have reached, the 32 countries that have come together. Abby Martin is one of the people who are there. We're going to get into all of that. We're also going to discuss Barack Obama snaps at the Democratic Party. Barack Obama is not too happy and is giving orders. Given orders. We're getting into that. We're also going to discuss one of the funniest stories, I think. Alex Jones begs Donald Trump. Alex Jones is not having a good week. He's taking things very harsh when it comes to this Epstein issue. We're also discussing, this is another one that is just wild and crazy. Ben Shapiro is big mad at Superman. Big mad at Superman. And you'll see why. And last but not least, our special guest tonight, the Money Out of Politics movement. They are joining us. This is the type of movement that I love to see. Let's go ahead and bring them in one at a time. Hello.
Hey, how are you?
How
How you
are
doing?
you? Thank you for to both of you for coming on. First and foremost, I want you to introduce yourself and if you can explain your role in this movement, Money Out of Politics. Let's start with Joey.
Yeah, so I'm one of the co-founders of the movement. I've been in the military for 22 years, deployed 14 times over the course of my career, and really unhappy with what I came home and been witnessing on the political landscape nationwide. And so I thought, hey, something about this, right? And I realized that there's lots of people doing things about this, and we just want to help get that word out.
All right. Thank you, Joey. And Bobby.
Yeah, so I'm a litigation attorney in Georgia, and when I was in law school, I had to fulfill a JD writing requirement, and the topic I chose was whether or not stark wealth inequality comported with the political equality our democracy is widely held to require. And at the end of those 35 pages, the answer was no. So here we are.
Okay. All right. So you are a part of a movement called Money Out of Politics. And shout out to my producer, Eric, who drew you to my attention. So I think I like what I'm seeing so far on your website. We'll get to that in just a second. But first and foremost, how did this movement start? Was it created by the two of you? Did you know each other prior to this movement? How did this all begin?
Um, Funny story. So I was on TikTok Live one night ranting about money and politics and the way that our government has been bought and sold, and we're in an oligarchy. And somebody was like, "Do you know Mayhem?" And I was like, "No." So they're like, "Well, hold on." They like, "You sound just like him." So that's how we met, and then we put together a little spunky crew of bandits that happen to be very talented. And here we are. I mean, completely volunteer, and they work very hard every day. Hopefully, some of them are watching, and would definitely love to give them a shout out.
All right. And you all are volunteers, correct?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, look, the if I had to sum it up in one word, this is all about integrity. And what we are doing is we are proving every single day that it's a giant lie that money has to pump everything here, because everything that we've done in just 6 months has been nothing but people power and attitude. Look, I pay for the email addresses out of pocket. Bobby pays for some things out of pocket, but that's really it. Everything else is like,
Okay. All right. So let's take a look at your website here because I do like what I see. This is the website for Money Out of Politics movement, about the Money Out of Politics movement, fighting for a government that works for the people and not for corporate donors. So when did the two of you realize that big money in electoral politics was a problem?
Uh, well, like I said, I realized in law school, so that's probably about 2018, that I sort of reviewed all the case law. It really starts before Citizens United, but over the course of many, many years, our ability to insulate politics from money has been eroded slowly, and culminating in the super PACs and dark money that we have in politics today. And so it's diluted the voice of the Americans pretty significantly.
2018. What about you, Joey?
for me, it was a little different path. I was gone a lot, right? Training, deploying, and when I came back, I was kind of really had some time to look into things, and I was like, how did we get here? What happened to the conversations that were happening across the aisle? And as I dug into it and did research, and it's kind of a thing of mine, right? I realized that really we could see the scales tip after FEC versus Citizens United, and we started just following the money, right? And we found that $24 billion were spent in federal elections. And what I know when I hear a number like that is that those are not the American people that are getting elected, right? They're elites. They're people that are in people's pocket, and ultimately came to the same conclusion. And it was really cool when I met Bobby, because I was like, okay, so it's different routes to the same conclusion. It was kind of validating to see that somebody else saw what I was seeing. Many people do.
Yeah, that's right. I've been talking about that on this show for quite some time. That the big money is the problem, and that's why a lot of these issues are just not solved. So that has a lot to do with that. Now, one of the things that I do want to show everyone here. You talk about this, about us, the money out of politics movements, and you talk about the billionaires, the lobbyists, the special interest groups, which I think is really important. Your mission: in political corruption, ban lobbyist gifts, in congressional stock trading. Again, I agree with all of these. Pass a constitutional amendment to permanently keep money out of politics by giving states the right to regulate campaign spending and assert that only human beings, not corporations, possess constitutional rights. What is the plan? Like, what is your plan to get this accomplished? Because I know Citizens ending Citizens United at one point, there was a big push for that, and then it kind of fell off. We've interviewed a number of groups on the show. We've talked to Move to Amend and other activists that wanted to make this happen. What is your plan to get big money out of electoral politics?
So I think, from my perspective, what I saw, right, when we really started to look at this problem, what I saw was that there's a lot of people, right. When I asked the question, why doesn't anybody do anything about this, right? When I really kind of came to my own conclusion about what the problem was, and what I realized is there's lots of people doing a lot about this, but I've never heard of them, and many people haven't, right? So we have a disconnect between mobilizers and policymakers and community organizers, and that's what really we've sought to close the gap on. And so we've built a coalition. Well, another thing we realized is we don't need to try to do something new, right? There's lots of really effective folks out there, and we go to the door and we say, okay, if you're already doing this work, tell us how we can uplift you. Tell us how through a coalition we can help you get to your goal. And so Move to Amend is a coalition partner of ours. And one example I would give, Liberty Ride, a coalition partner of ours, reached out and said, hey, we got about 700 motorcyclists that are getting ready to go out around the country. And they were supposed to have a petition from this other organization. We didn't get it. Do you guys have anything for us? And I was like, I thought you'd never ask, right? So we reached out to Move to Amend. I said, hey, Mr. Coleridge, I hope you don't mind, but I'm about to send your petition out with these 700 bikers. And so they're currently riding around the country collecting signatures for what is now House Joint Resolution 54, and it has 60 co-sponsors to amend the Constitution currently in the House of Representatives.
And so to add on to that, Sabrina, I think when you say this to people, they're like, oh, okay, and that's probably the response a lot of people have gotten working in this space, because it does sound like a really uphill push. But I think the reality is it's now or never. And we have the ability right now to capitalize on the energy in our nation that has resulted, from this administration. Not to get too far off topic there, but the issue is we've not been able to coalesce the political power, the political will. And so in my mind, we have to start at the bottom, right? Because we have to garner the political will in all 50 states. We have to make conditions favorable for people to be truly involved in the civic process. And that means making sure that communities are fortified and have what they need. And so that's sort of how we came to this coalition building and organizing people who are on the ground, right, doing the work already, who have relationships in these communities, who know the people and know what the people need, and how we can support them in supporting the community so that people are re-engaged and can participate in a meaningful way in the civic process, which includes civic education and just, like I said, community building, mutual aid. How can we support the people of America so that we can bring our elected officials back down and tether them back to the American people? Because right now they're not tethered to the interests of the American people at all.
That's right. And mutual aid is a big one that we do over here, over at RBN. That's like our big thing.
Yeah.
Quick question. I'm sure some people may want to know this one as well. Are you attached to any political party?
No.
No, not at all. I wouldn't even say nonpartisan, we're cross partisan. Doesn't matter if you're right, left, independent, green. I mean, just whatever it is. We're here for the American people, and we don't think that this is a political issue in the sense that it's a party divide. The reality is, if we don't close the gap between parties and have politicians that start putting Americans over party, Americans will lose every time, and that's what we've seen.
That's right. Yeah, that's a big one that I say over here, is that we have to move past like looking at like these political parties, because they do divide us in many ways, but also they look out for corporate interests for the most part. Another piece that you have here on the website is corruption has stolen our democracy. For veterans, for workers, for patients, for democracy. You say this is why we have to take action. I love that you have this here, because, right now the Democratic Party is continuing to say that it is the Republican Party that is a threat to democracy. But what I love that you point out is that corruption has stolen our democracy. And we've seen this happen in a number of different ways, where candidates were winning in a primary, and the Democratic Party came in to play their little tricks to make it so that they would not be in the general election. So I think that what I love about this is that you mentioned corruption. and you're following the money. I think that's really important, and I think more people need to know about this movement. Now, this is fairly new. The group of you that came together, correct?
Oh yeah, yeah. I think we finally incorporated, and Bobby can correct me on this, but I think we finally incorporated in March, maybe.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
kind of late. I mean, for the
yeah,
actual legal entity portion, but
yeah.
prior to that, we've just been getting our bearings, putting a team together, and figuring out what our path forward was.
Yeah, this just all started, like she said, as part of a conversation. Hey, what are we going to do? Right? Lots of people get on and say, it's a lot going on. Yeah, there
Yeah.
is. What are we doing about it? What are we doing today about tomorrow? Is the question that I always have. And one thing I want to point out, and that's such a great point, Sabrina, that you mentioned when you say that we see parties, right? And the way that I look at this, we see organizations, right? Whether it's party, whether it's political organization, I see a lot of them endorsing a candidate. Okay, it is not the responsibility of any organization to endorse a candidate. That is the responsibility of the constituency. Job is to put people that seek to lead in front of those they seek to lead and let those people decide. I don't know what's good for District 4 Arkansas or District 3 California, right? The people of that district know, though. So let us put candidates that have integrity in front of them, irrespective of party, and let those people choose.
Yeah, and I want to bring this up here as well. Meet the people behind the movement. Of course, there's Bobby right there. Mayhem also with us. Sierra, Sean, and if we go down here, we can see Kristen, Brooke, Allura, Kelby. This is, I looked at this website. I thought this was very, very well organized. Now, you have a big event that is coming up that I think people do need to know about. It's called March for Integrity. That is July 27th from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. on the National Mall in DC. Can we talk a little bit about this march that's coming up July 27th?
Yeah. So, look, this is not a protest, and really, it's not even a march, right? It is going to be a demonstration, and it is where we are. This is our soft launch. This is us saying, here are the demands. This is polling 84% nationwide across party lines. Okay, this is not a partisan issue. This is not an issue that's difficult to figure out for these politicians. If you don't support what the American people are demanding, you will be voted out of office. And I know it sounds empty right now, but they haven't seen the power. I'll remind everybody listening that the United States of American citizenry is undefeated against tyranny. So if you think that you can just employ whatever agenda you want against the interests of the American people and against the demands of the American people, you're going to learn the same lesson that everybody else has ever learned.
Yeah, Bobby, you want to talk a little bit as well about this event, July 27th?
Yeah, I mean, we're super excited to be in Washington. This won't be our first time. Joey and I have been up there actually conversing with Republican lawmakers for quite a while this summer. So this is sort of, as you mentioned, a demand, a show of force, if you will. We would like to remind lawmakers that they work for the American people, and the American people fall asleep on occasion, but we wake up when we need to, and so we plan on waking Americans up. And I think that Congress can stand with us or stand aside, but either way, the American people are coming for what they're owed by this government under our Constitution. And I think I'd be remiss not to mention, our government's not always worked for everybody. I think we all here know that, but we have an opportunity right now to capitalize on the energy and make our country and our government do what it was meant to do, or what it ideally should have done from the beginning. So we're just hoping to put our message out there and let the people know who we are and see who we can get to stand with us.
All right. And how can people get involved in this organization?
Look, I think
we'll put you somewhere.
Yeah. No, this is talent management is the name of the game here, right? We, like I said, we don't seek to redo anything that people are already doing. So what we do is what is it that you're passionate about? Because there's somebody in our coalition working on every passion out there. And all we're doing is unifying, not unity of thought, but unity of action. If people want to get involved, look at all the partners on our website. If one of them resonates with you, join up with them. If specifically Money Out of Politics resonates with you, join our Discord. We've got committees all over the place doing all kinds of things, right? Digital design, community engagement, and really, what I'll tell you, we'd also be remiss if we didn't mention that there are also, I think, 30 satellite. You can look on Mobilize, but there are 30 satellite actions going on around the country on the 27th. So if you can't make it to DC, we are looking to get anybody involved that wants to be involved, right? If you're disabled in any way, right, and you want to attend or you want to be a part of this, reach out to us and we will find a place for you. We have folks from all over the spectrum with all sorts of different abilities. This is a movement for everyone.
And I want to show people some of the partners here so that people can see some of the other orgs that you are partnered with. And one of the things I want to mention too, Joey, you said, I know that you're a veteran. And was it anything about your experience, your military experience, that kind of prompted you to get involved in something like this?
Yeah, that's a tough question. Good one. I think that I'm very disappointed overall with what I've seen overseas in a variety of ways, right? And so coming home, and really, it's why I've called so consistently on veterans to join this movement and lead. One thing we know is veterans come from all walks of society. I have stood shoulder to shoulder with Republicans, Democrats, people from every race, creed, religion, and we have all been able to unify time and time again to accomplish something, right? And I think people listen to veterans, that veterans have made sacrifices for this country. That's a good piece of common ground that you have, right? If you love this country and you're willing to fight, who better than to link up with than a veteran?
And to add on to that, I think one common thing that also linked us is, as an attorney, you take an oath to the Constitution, and obviously as a military member, you do as well. And I think that's something that has kept this issue near and dear to probably both of our hearts, because it's the political equality we're supposed to have is not here currently, and Americans don't. It's not one vote, one voice, right? Corporations are writing the rules that we live under, and Americans are suffering for it, while politicians get rich. So.
All right. If you are interested in becoming a part of Money Out of Politics, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you check out their website. This is the Money Out of Politics movement. Make sure you check on that. And then also they have an event that is coming up. That is July 27th. So that's actually just around the corner in DC from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. That is going to be at the National Mall, March for Integrity. So again, their demands are ban on lobbyist gifts, end on the end of congressional stock trading, and a constitutional amendment to keep money out of politics. I think what you guys are doing is really great. Go ahead, Bobby. I think you were going to add something.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, if you're part of an organization that would like to join our coalition, please get in contact with us. It doesn't matter if you're right, left, what have you, whatever your goal is. If there's not an issue in this nation facing Americans that cannot be linked to this, in my opinion, whether it is healthcare, policing in communities, you name it, I can tie it there. So if you have an organization and you want to get involved and see how getting money in politics can help the people in your communities, get in touch with us, because it's a movement for the people, by the people. And so that's what we just want to put out there.
It's a good question here from Maria. How can we get them hooked up with Dave Smith also? Are you guys familiar with Dave Smith, the comedian Dave Smith?
I'm not, but easy way, you can reach out to us at, you can email me at mayhem@moneyoutofpolitics.org, executive director at moneyoutofpolitics.org. You visit our website. It's super easy to get in touch with us. Myself, Bob, director of technology, takes every coalition partner meeting personally. Okay. So when we say grassroots, we mean it, right? I work 18 hours a day. So I'll be there.
And every movement can use a little comedy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
He's one that seems to be able to reach across different political ideologies. That's probably why they brought up Dave Smith. He just did that actually recently. But again, for those of you who are interested in joining, make sure you check out the website. Eric, if you could put the link to this in the chat so that people can go to their website. And again, I thank both of you so much. I'm glad I found out about this. I think this is the right idea. I think you're headed in the right direction. And this is why I tell people, instead of donating your money to a politician, if you're going to donate to something like this. Like, because until you get corporate money out of electoral politics, you're always going to keep running into the same issues.
Hey, with that, I would like to say, first and foremost, thank you so much, Sabrina, for having us. We love the clarity with which you speak and the fact that you are in the community personally. That means so much to us. I do want to say that, look, we are branching out into every community in every state. That is where we're turning our focus. The March for Integrity is a soft launch. We're turning all of our focus into communities. And we have partnered with an organization, a fintech organization called Atlas, whose goal it is to keep money in communities. We don't want people sending a bunch of money out of politics, right? We're not here to be that organization. What we want is all of these dollars that are going to DC to stay in your community and solve problems in your community. And we are going to have the tools through financial and digital platforms to be able to do that, where everybody in your district, everybody in your community can see how these projects are being run and know exactly what they're donating to. And it doesn't leave your district and go to DC and disappear. It helps your community directly. That's extremely important.
And as crazy as it sounds, the last thing on somebody's mind when they can't feed their kids or keep their lights on is voting. So if we can't take care of people, we cannot do what we need to do and make the government work for us.
That's right.
That's right. Thank you both so much for coming on.
Thanks for having us. We
Thank you
appreciate
so much.
Bye. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was the Money Out of Politics movement. Definitely check out what they're doing, guys. I know Eric put the link in there to in the chat for you guys to follow them. This is the kind of stuff that I'm talking about. Like, when we say like a movement, we're not talking about this movement to get someone elected. We're talking about a movement that is going to challenge the system. And the reality is, as long as you do have big money in electoral politics, you're going to keep running into this issue. So kudos to them. We have quite a bit to get into tonight, ladies and gentlemen. We will do call in after the show. I know it's been a minute, but call in is back tonight. Calling is back tonight. I've been busy with the documentary and we're doing a lot of filming. So that's why we haven't had call in the past 2 weeks, but we will have it tonight, ladies and gentlemen. So first and foremost, let's go ahead and give a shout out to everyone who is a Sabby patron. Thank you guys so much for your support. I really do appreciate you, fam. If you are interested in being a Sabby patron, I have 5 categories. We have Ultimate. There's some Sabinators, and they are no haters. They are no haters. We also have those Sabsters. Don't forget about those Sabbies. Yes, don't forget about them at all. And we also have a group called Members. That's right. I was supposed to change the members group to something cute someone put in the chat, and they said change it to Sabators or something like that. I was supposed to change it to that. But thank you guys. Thank you so much for your support there. You'll see their name scrolling across the bottom of the screen. Okie dokie. Tonight's theme is real heroes, and we want to talk about what a real hero looks like and what it means to be a real hero. And we do not consider, or I do not consider, politicians to be heroes. And I don't think that you should either. So we're going to get into that tonight. I think we have a couple of chats to go to. Shout out to Nikos. I think Nikos, you sent a couple of super chats. Let me get to these. Hello, Sabby. I'm leaving my chats now because I'll be sleeping when you're live. I wanted to bring your attention to this story about Piers Morgan. Thank you for this one. So to see this British POS lecture them because they travel about human rights, let me be clear. The British are the last people to pass judgment on anyone. They made concentration camps mainstream. Thank you for this one. I am from Greece. I hate Turkey because of what they did to us. And I used to group all of the Arab world into that hate because of them. It was by watching these travel vlogs that I changed my mind. Thank you for this one. So peers called them in to lecture them and accuse them of doing this for money and views and how they don't care about women's rights. I heard about this. This is just crazy. Particular attacks happened on an Arab who is from Lebanon, labeling them all Taliban bros. This is important. Most of these people are apolitical, and through them we see and understand the world. Just when you thought Piers Morgan couldn't be more vile, he goes to attack travel YouTubers, Arab Harry Jagard and Nolan Sumir. All three went to Afghanistan. But I forget he doesn't profit at all by promoting hatred towards Russia, hatred towards China, hatred towards Iran. It's better than traveling there. Interesting, Nikos. Yeah, Piers Morgan has been he's been on a something as of recent. I've noticed it has become increasingly worse. Increasingly worse. Crazy times, man. Crazy times. But again, real heroes, folks. So we'll get into this first story here. If you haven't done so, please be sure to smash that like button. Thank you very much. And if you're new, don't forget to like, sub, and share, just like a Care Bear. Let's get into it. Real heroes. When I talk about real heroes, I'm not talking about politicians. Not at all. And recently, Barack Obama has come forward. He's come out of the dark. I don't know. He's like Gloria Stefan, coming out of the dark. That's what's happening right now. And now he has things to say. And apparently, Barack Obama is snapping at the Democratic Party. And when you see what I show you, it's obvious who he's really talking about. He's talking about Democrat leadership. Now, there are already people online calling Barack Obama a hero because he's come out of the shadows and he's standing up to everybody. They're already saying this. But I just want to remind you again, politicians are not heroes. So let's see what Barack Obama is getting into now. Obama's blunt message for Democrats: toughen up. Toughen up. Toughen up. It's Barack Obama. Never goes away. All the other politicians, they have their presidency, they retire, they fade into the background. We don't see or hear from them again unless there is a funeral of a former president that we've had, or if there is like some Democratic convention or a GOP convention, etc. Other than that, they are retired. Not Barack Obama. So let me show you what Barack Obama is saying now. Check this out. Okie dokie. President Barack Obama issued a call to action for Democrats at a private fundraiser in New Jersey on Friday evening, urging those frustrated by the state of the country under Trump, stand up for the things that you think are right. Okay, so he's at a fundraiser event. That's part of the problem. The money in politics. That's a big part of the problem, because what did we say before? You don't get a Donald Trump as president if you actually deliver for the working class. That didn't happen under Barack Obama's presidency. It was under Barack Obama's presidency that Black wealth actually tanked. Look at the chart. Look at the numbers, because he chose to bail out Wall Street instead of bailing out the American people who lost their homes. When Barack Obama made that decision, again, your home is a part of your net worth, a big part of your net worth. You're talking about many Black elders who lost their net worth. And it wasn't just Black people, but those banks predominantly targeted elderly Black people. So it was Barack Obama's economic policies that led us to get a Donald Trump. People have to understand that. Let's go on a little bit more here. He goes on to say, I think it's going to require a little bit less navel gazing and a little less whining and being in fetal positions. And it's going to require Democrats to just toughen up. That's what Barack Obama said. You don't tell me you're a Democrat, but you kind of disappointed right now. So you're not doing anything. No, Now is exactly the time that you get in there and do something. Don't say that you care deeply about free speech and then you're quiet. No, you stand up for free speech when it's hard. When somebody says something that you don't like, but you still say, you know what? That person has the right to speak. What's needed now is courage. That is coming from Barack Obama. That is what he's saying right now. I don't know how great my impression was, but this is how I hear him in my head when he's speaking. That's what he said. Stand up. Let's talk about standing up real quick and then we'll get to the clip. Did Barack Obama, did he do the right thing and stand up when the NBA players decided to go on strike to try to hit the ownership, hit him in the wallet? Did he do the right thing? Nope. Barack Obama stepped in to end the strike. Did Barack Obama stand up and do the right thing when we had Occupy Wall Street? When we were saying we are the 99%? Nope. Barack Obama came in to crush that noise. Did Barack Obama do the right thing when he went to Flint, Michigan and told all those people in the room that the water wasn't dirty and he pretended to drink the water? No, he didn't. And did Barack Obama stand up and do the right thing when these predatory lenders stole people's homes? No, he bailed out Wall Street instead of those people. Now, I bring up '08 many times, and I bring this up because I honestly still don't believe that the American economy, and when we talk about net worth, I just don't believe that the American economy has ever really fully recovered from the '08 housing crisis. And for those of you who may be too young to remember, that was a tough time. That was a really, really tough time. So I just don't buy it. And now here you come out of the shadows to tell all the Democrats, and we know who you're really talking about to show you, to tell the Democrat leadership that they need to basically toughen up. When we all know that Barack Obama preached a really good game when he was running for president, but the moment that he got in, we saw very quickly that Barack Obama was just like all the others who came before him, and that he capitulated to corporations, the military industrial complex, and don't forget all those kids that he killed in Libya. Barack Obama is talking about Hakeem Jeffries. Remember this?
I'm trying to figure out what leverage we actually have. What leverage do we have? They control the House, the Senate, and the presidency. It's their government. What leverage do we have?
Remember this? He was the one, he's part of Democrat leadership. Hakeem Jeffries was the one that came forward and said, I don't know what do you want us to do? We're not in power. We don't have any leverage, that type of thing, right? Then you also have Chuck Schumer in the Senate, and Chuck Schumer decided to go along with Donald Trump's big bill. Remember, this was a whole big thing and people were very angry and they said primary Chuck Schumer, that type of thing. Now, Barack Obama is coming out of the dark to basically make people think, here I come to save the day, as if he's a real hero, to tell the Democrat leadership, look, you guys need to toughen up, when Barack Obama knows damn well how this game is played. He knows who's really running the show. The presidents of the United States aren't even at the top of the pyramid. Eric and I used to show this pyramid chart on the show multiple times. I might have to start bringing that chart back out, because I see people really starting to think that politicians are at the top and they run the show. They really don't. They're in the middle of that pyramid. So he knows what's happening. He knows what's going on, but he is there for theater. He's there to come out and let me come out from Martha's Vineyard and go help these Democrats again. Now, every time you see the Democratic Party may be struggling, or there's a race that is very tight between a Democrat politician and a Republican politician, they always bring in, here come Obama, to try to help. Now, I remember he did this in Virginia during the Virginia governor race, and he came to speak to people in Virginia. He was supposed to help the Democrat candidate there, but even after Barack Obama's speech, that Democrat candidate lost. And that's how Youngkin got in. He came out to help Kamala Harris, blamed black men for not really giving support to Kamala, and Kamala lost. And I've been saying this for quite some time. I don't think Barack Obama has that mojo that he used to have anymore. But he's out here, and he's here to let everybody know, here I come. Let me come out here to save the day. Let me lecture the Democrats. Check out this panel here on CNN as they discuss this. Check this out.
Former President Barack Obama has a blunt message for his fellow Democrats. Quote, just toughen up. Stepping out for his first fundraising appearance since the Democrats' 2024 election loss, the former president had some tough love as his party continues to struggle to counter President Trump's agenda. He told donors this over the weekend, quote, I think it's going to require a little bit less navel gazing and a little less whining and being in fetal positions, Obama said, according to excerpts of his remarks exclusively obtained by CNN. And it's going to require Democrats to just toughen. CNN's chief political analyst, former senior advisor to President Obama, David Axelrod, joins us now. Ax, always great to see you. Thank you so much for coming on.
Good to see you.
What do you make of the former president doing this in this way and doing it now?
Well, it's telling that he did it at a fundraiser for the Democratic National Committee that was set up to support candidates, particularly the two gubernatorial candidates in New Jersey and Virginia, Mikey Sherrill and Spamberger in Virginia. And so, I mean, if you read through all of it, I think part of what he's saying is the way you resist is by electing people who are going to pursue a different policy. And, so toughen up and, stop navel gazing and so on means focus on the task at hand. And he talked very specifically about that. The thing I found most interesting about it, Casey, was there were a couple of lines in there. He said, stop looking for the quick fix. Stop looking for the messiah. You have great candidates running races right now. Support these candidates. And, there's been a lot of discussion about why isn't he out more? I think his view, and I've had these discussions with him in the past, is that there are always new leaders. You need to lift up these new leaders, and these new leaders have to lead. And it is not appropriate or wise to look back and say, well, you come back and do it again, or you be and that, in a sense, that was, to me, an explanation for why he's picked his shots and why he has he's been a little circumspect and not out there constantly, because he believes that there are voices within the Democratic Party who can step up and lead at this point and into the future.
But not the people that you would want to lead. Like Barack Obama is on record wanting to support people or advocate for people like Abigail Spamberger, who's former CIA, by the way. Former CIA. Governor Wes Moore, who he actually wanted to run on the presidential ticket again, not Kamala. He did not want Kamala Harris. Gretchen Whitmer, it's not people who have a plan and a passion to help and benefit people who are working class. And I also want to add working poor. I got to add the working poor part, because I feel like that group in particular oftentimes is not talked about. People who are working two jobs just to pay rent, and they don't have anything left over for savings, or they can barely pay for their light bill, but at the same time, they don't fall under the poverty line, far enough that they're able to get assistance. That group right there, that little group, which I've been a part of, that's a tough place to be, because you don't get Section 8 housing. You don't get food stamps because you make a little too much for that, but you don't make enough to be able to really take care of yourself, to not run into an issue, especially if you get an unexpected expense. Those are the politicians that Barack Obama is advocating for, those who are corporate, those who are status quo, those who are establishment. Anytime you see a former presidential candidate helping fundraise for a candidate that is former CIA, I think you know the game is fixed. I think you know what's really happening. That tells you what it's really all about. So when Barack Obama says they need to allow new leaders to come forward, he's not talking about people that support policies that benefit the working class. And this is very important for people to understand because he ran on a lot of those issues. Raise your hand if you remember when Barack Obama ran for president in 2008. I definitely do. I was very excited. And when he won, I mean, I was getting all teary-eyed and shit. I was like, oh my God, oh my God. That didn't last long. That oh my gosh feeling did not last long. But he's not talking about Zoran Mandami. He's not talking about AOC. He's not talking about Democratic Socialists or those policies, period. He is talking about a younger face that is going to continue the same status quo and also the MIC. That's who he's talking about. This really has to be pushed forward, you guys. You really have to explain this to your friends and your family members as well. I want people to understand Barack Obama is very smart. Do not think that he's dumb. Don't say he's stupid. Don't say he's fool. He knows exactly what he's doing. He went to Harvard Law School. He's not dumb. He comes out to say these things to give you the impression, okay, oh, see, even Barack Obama wants something different, something new. You hear that, Democratic Party? You hear that, DNC? But it's not the new that a lot of us want. It's not the new that's actually going to benefit the working class. It's just a new face that's going to continue the same amount of imperialism, capitalism, corporatism, and greed. That's what Barack Obama wants. Let's continue on a little bit more here.
Well, David, it's interesting you picked up on that because that also really stuck out to me, especially the use of the word Messiah. I mean, because Obama himself, right, was often treated like that, right, in the Democratic Party. And we've increasingly seen that our politics are driven by singular figures more than they're driven by a party or, people don't trust the parties as much, right? Obama had a hold over the Democratic Party in a way. He was able to bring voters in to the Democratic Party in a way that others have simply not been able to. Is there a world where, it's kind of easy for him to say that?
Well, there is. I think that's a fair commentary, but I think it's also instructive to look back at that race in 2008 because one of the great appeals of Barack Obama was that he was willing to be flinty-eyed about criticizing the politics of Washington writ large, and he didn't excuse Democrats from that. And I think we're in a similar period now when what people are looking for are leaders who are willing to square up with the not just the failures of Donald Trump, which are very well known and current, but also the things that led people to Donald Trump. The fact that so many working people voted for him, including Black and Hispanic voters, and they're looking for someone to say, how do we build something better? How do we build something that's actually more responsive to the needs of working people? How do we build something that is resistant to the influence of the money and special interests and, yes, identity politics, and build something around the things that we all share, the concerns for our families and how we make a living and how our kids are going to do better than we do. I think that's what people are looking for. But
So that question has been answered multiple times. The way that you do that is, number one, you don't take corporate money. Number two, you should be leading. If Barack Obama was serious about helping working class people in this country, he would be leading some type of push or movement to end corporate money in electoral politics. See, this is how you can tell if people are serious about helping you or not, because you ask them just this simple question. Would you support eliminating corporate money in electoral politics. Don't even just say big money, okay? Because you can get corporate money that's not big, you know? So don't even say that. Just ask that simple question. Ask a politician, ask one of your representatives. If you ever get to go to one of their town halls or whatever, ask them, would you support removing and ending corporate money in electoral politics? That right there lets you know if they're serious about accomplishing something for working class people. Because the reason why these things don't happen is because these politicians, they answer to their donors when they're supposed to answer to us, when we're the ones that vote for the politicians. But at the end of the day, once they're in, they are beholden to those big money interest donors. And that's how we get down this road. So that's how you know he's not serious.
I mean, I get your criticism, and I think what he's saying is don't do that. I think what he's saying is look to the leaders you have and support them and lift them up, and leadership will come.
David Urban, what say you?
Who am I to question the wise acts? Right? I would say this. What I think is very instructive is who he is holding up and who he's not mentioning, right? So he's holding up Spanberger. He's holding up Cheryl, two pretty moderate Democrats, blue dogs almost, Democrats. But yet we didn't hear any mention of Mr. Mondami, who's really kind of captured the Democratic Party like Obama did before 2008, right? So I think that is very instructive.
Well, New York Mayor.
What did I tell you? What I tell you? So that's the thing. Spanberger, he says moderate, but he doesn't mention she was former CIA. That's important for people to know. This is someone that potentially could, and I say the CIA thing because where does she stand on privacy? Where does she stand on, our right to privacy? How does she feel about deplatforming, censorship, those types of things? All those questions should be asked, but the fact that he's at a fundraiser for her, she's already corporate and corrupt because she's getting corporate money. I would like to one day see all these corporate money that's going to electoral politics. I would like to see a lot of that money go into the community. Ask people this, all these rich people that are putting thousands and hundreds and thousands and millions of dollars towards political campaigns. Why aren't they putting that money into impoverished communities? Because they don't really want to do anything for you. They don't really want to fix things or improve things for the working class. If they did, they would just use their own money to put it directly into your neighborhood. That's how you know. But do you see what I was saying? He doesn't want that kind of new.
May not be the same as Obama.
No, but still, but if you look at who's fired up the base the most, right? I think at this point, I may be wrong, but I think Mamdani, right?
Those are the most critical elections right now, the statewide, and Abby and Mikey are dynamic leaders.
I'll also say, from having read that speech that he gave, he was pretty scoldy. He is very scoldy these days, and he talked a lot about how people are not stepping up and doing their part and how people have been folding and not really standing up tall. And I just don't think that goes down very well anymore. We saw that in the run-up to the election where he was sort of telling black men that they needed in solidarity to vote for a black woman. And I think that kind of scoldy Obama really doesn't play to the Democratic base anymore.
Axe, can I get you to weigh in on that?
Yeah, people were not too happy about that.
Yeah, look, I mean, I half agree that I applaud those people, those law firms who have the courage to stand up, universities that are standing up to protect academic freedom. I also am aware that there are responsibilities to the institutions that people are leading that cause those to be difficult questions. So it's not as easy as one might say. That said, there may have been people in that room last night who were there to support the Democratic Party, but had questions about whether they wanted to stick their own neck out if they were part of a big law firm and so on. And for them, maybe the message was appropriate.
So you heard what he said there, part of a big law firm. So again, politicians are not heroes. Those are not the real heroes. And I think one of the mistakes that people have made, and I like I said, I saw people online trying to do with Obama. Obama's coming back. He's here to save the day. We miss him so much. Yay, Obama's back. Woo, he's going to fix everything. Politicians are not heroes. The majority of them belong to donors, military industrial complex, and Wall Street. The majority. Very few that are grassroots. So there's that. And then two, what does it say about the Democratic Party that Barack Obama they always have to rely on him to try to come in and fix things? Barack Obama is not going to live forever. You look at the polling right now, the polling is abysmal for the Democratic Party. The polling's not good for Trump either. The polling is not good for Donald Trump. But the polling is also not good for the Democratic Party. Democratic Party, last poll I saw, they had a 26% approval rating. That's terrible. They're not even in power. That's terrible. So this idea, I think people need to understand that Barack Obama is the person that they bring in to make you think that you're going to get the change that you want, but instead what you get is the same old, but with a different face. Barack Obama is the person that is brought in by the establishment, by the billionaire class to crush any type of progress and real movements away from the status quo. And they use someone like him because they're like, oh, well, he's a black guy. He went to Harvard, etc. So they see those types of things. And people looked at Obama when he ran in 2008, just like I did. And people were like, whoa, a black person can actually be president. Yeah, it was a lot of that going on back then. And we totally overlooked all the other things, the problematic things with Barack Obama that we just didn't see or just didn't pay attention to at that point in time. So no, he's not a hero. Real heroes aren't brought in to mislead the public into believing that they are there to push for the change that you want, in particular for people who are working class, but they're actually there to trick you and to crush what you got going on, and they're just going to give you status quo under a different face. That's who Barack Obama is. Let's go to some of the comments here in the chat. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for the super chat, Gene. XL Red Church in MTG, this now preaching for Gaza. XL Red Church, I don't know who that is, but thank you, Gene. Thank you, Marlon. Well, he could filibuster with the same conviction the Republican leaders did against Obama until he breaks their records on the filibuster strategy. Yeah, it's true. Dana said the working poor have jobs that are essential to the communities, but they are often looked down on. This is true. Hey, people realize how much they really need them and how much they do when they go on strike. When the sanitation workers go on strike and your trash starts to pile up, then people realize just how important they are. Thank you, Roger. Working poor. Oh, that's what I am. I call it broke. Some people do call it broke. Thank you, Jay. Had Obama toughened up, everyone would have health care, the minimum wage lifted to a livable wage, and innocent people in the Mideast wouldn't have been killed by bombs and drone strikes. Good point. And thank you, Kevin. AIPAC ain't gonna be supporting our communities. That part. I like that, Kevin. I like that quote. That should be on a t-shirt. That right there. 8-pack ain't gonna be supporting our communities. And thank you, Marlon. The corporate media is also a problem, even if we get it out of politicians. Good point. That's right. The media is a big issue. Thank you for the tip on Rockfin, Dave. Thanks, Sabby and Eric. You are welcome. You are welcome. Hey. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are moving on to the next story. I am doing good on time tonight. I'm proud of myself. Proud of myself. All right. If you have not done so, smash the like. And we're moving on to what I think is the best news story of tonight. Many of us have been wondering, how can we hold Israel accountable? We know that Israel needs to be held accountable. But many of us have just been, we feel so powerless. We feel like we've protested, we've written articles, essays. We've screamed at the top of our lungs that we're against what is happening. We're against genocide. We're against what Israel is doing. Not to mention, Israel is now bombing Syria again. I have to bring on a guest for that segment. So they're trying to occupy everything and control everything. But something is happening. When Dan Kovalik was on the show, he told us that he was on his way to Bogota, Colombia, to be a part of the Hague Group. And I think you guys need to see what this group is doing and why everyone needs to talk about this. Let's go ahead and bring this in here. Shout out to Al Jazeera for this. Hague Group announces steps to hold Israel accountable in Bogota summit. This is a big one. A group of 12 countries from across the world has committed to barring arms transfers to Israel, among other steps. So do you see how these countries got together and they decided, forget going through forget the UN, because the UN's not helping with nothing, because the US representative is always the one to raise the hand to say no to a permanent ceasefire, no to this, right? So they tried the proper channels. This is important to people to understand. They already tried that. That wasn't working out. These particular countries decided to get together and find ways that they could hold Israel accountable on their own. And this effort was led by South Africa and Colombia. One of the people who was there is Abby Martin. Now, Abby Martin is a journalist. She primarily covers a lot of foreign policy. She's traveled across the world. And she is at the Hague Group right now. We'll get into that in just a second. But I want to show you guys, you see the faces here? So there's the president of Colombia, right, in the middle. Let's get into this. The 2-day meeting concluded on Wednesday with 24 countries agreeing to 6 measures to restrain Israel's assault on the occupied Palestinian territories. They include Bolivia, Colombia, Cuba, Indonesia, Iraq, Iraq, Libya, Malaysia, Namibia, Nicaragua, Oman, St. Vincent, and the Grenadines in South Africa. We believe in protagonism, not supplication. That is coming from Varsha, who's the executive secretary at the Hague Group. Let's go into this part here. This group was founded in January, and they seek to bring together countries from the global south and loosely define region of developing economies to pressure Israel to end its war on Gaza and the occupation of the Palestinian territories. Among the steps announced by the group are the denial of arms to Israel, a ban on ships transporting such arms, and a review of public contracts for possible links to companies that benefit from the Israeli occupation. This is exactly what we were asking the US government to do. Ban the weapons, stop sending weapons to Israel, right? Stop, transporting arms on these ships. Is just stop sending them the weapons. Of course, our government isn't going to listen because they agree and approve of what Israel is doing. So these countries decided to take matters into their own hands and say, you know what? We have no control over what the United States is doing, but we do have some control over what we choose to do. And this is where the multipolar world comes in. This is exactly what I was talking about with Brian Berlatek. This idea of the United States kind of being on its own plane here, and other countries across the world are coming together to try to do the right thing. The United States is driving itself deeper and deeper into isolationism. Sorry. Deep into isolation. That's what the United States government is doing. And it's going to get to the point where eventually, and I predict this, it's going to get to the point where eventually other countries, I think some of these Western allies, even some of these NATO countries, eventually are going to start to turn on the US in economic ways. But that's another story. This is what is happening, folks. The multipolar world that the United States is not a part of, not because they can't be, but because they don't want to be. And there are more of them than the US. People have to understand the West is small. People have to understand how many people are in China, how many people are in India, how many people are in South America, how many people are in African countries. The West is small. And this kind of reminds me of the whole 99% thing. You see, they know this and they realize that we do not have to go along with what the United States government is doing at all. The 6 measures also included support for universal jurisdiction mandates, which would allow states and international bodies to prosecute serious international crimes, regardless of where they took place. Now, this is big because the US government continues to say that Israel, well, you cannot put sanctions on Israel. The Hague cannot tell Israel what to do. What would you have to do? You would need to change. You need to change that rule. So this is really important. The delegates here have been discussing these measures for 2 days and are calling it the most ambitious multilateral plan since the beginning of Israel's war in Gaza 21 months ago. And I want to show you some of the people who are there that were part of the Hague Group. First and foremost, this announcement of the group. And I think a lot of people are sleeping on this. But the fact that Colombia came together, you now have South America and Africa coming together, right? So pay attention to this here.
A 2-day emergency summit in Bogota to try to stop Israel's genocide in Gaza.
No solo para deliberar.
Convened by the Hague Group, a bloc of countries from the global south, led by Colombia and South Africa, that promises to move from condemnation to concrete actions.
Nos encontramos aquí no solo para deliberar.
We are here not only to speak, but to act, with legal, ethical, and political clarity in the face of one of the most serious moral challenges of our time, the suffering of the Palestinian people.
The conference brought together countries from around the world, including China, Spain, Mexico, and Qatar, to discuss enforcing the International Criminal Court arrest warrant against Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, halting arms transfers to Israel and blocking ships tied to Israel's military industry. Among the key guests is UN Special Rapporteur Francesca Albanese, who urged the states to go further by cutting all economic ties with Israel. She also condemned the United States, which recently sanctioned her.
I do believe that. Pause here before we get to Francesca. This is what I was talking about. When Shama came on the show, Shama was saying that we need to work with the working class that's in Israel or still have solidarity with the working class. And my whole big thing is when I say yes to BDS, I mean yes to all of it. I really do think that Israel is going to have to get to the point where it crumbles economically. And so these countries agreeing upon do not do business with Israel. If you can't stop them, if you can't, obviously you can't stop the US from sending weapons to Israel. They can't, these countries can't stop the US from doing that. But they can make sure they don't do it. And then also, you would have to hit Israel economically. You would have to hit them where it really hurts. I keep telling you guys over and over again, one thing that people understand is money. Because when the economy starts to fall and money gets tight, that's really when you start to get people's attention. And that's what I was saying. You got to hit them in the pocket. It's not just the government. It's not just Benjamin Netanyahu. The entire state of Israel is going to have to suffer economically. Only then and only then do I really think there could be some possible change here. But as long as countries keep doing trade with Israel, keep doing business with them, I mean, what are they? Why would they feel differently? And now you see Benjamin Netanyahu has now made the announcement, yes, we are going to continue to further occupy Syria. They're bombing Syria now. Again, this is a rogue state that has gone unchecked for too damn long, to be honest, and that's how they got here. Let's continue with Francesca here.
The US is totally complicit with whatever Israel is doing, but to the point that with the new administration, even the forced displacement of the Palestinians, which has occurred for decades under the watch of everyone, including the United States, has become part of the US foreign policy.
The Palestinian ambassador to the UN welcomed the Hague Group's push for concrete steps.
We welcome every action-oriented step from all the ones that you mentioned and others in which countries are contemplating to take. This journey has to start. Usually, the beginning time is the difficult time because there will be some hesitation, fear from pressure. But once people start taking these bold steps, and it is their, sovereign right to make these decisions. It is their obligation to honor and respect international law in their own national capacity. Once a group start taking these steps, they will open the door for others.
This conference may be laying out one of the boldest frameworks yet to pressure Israel over Gaza. It might not stop the war, but it could be an important first step to change how the world responds.
It's a good point, how the world responds. And so if I remember correctly, that other countries, I think they have until September to decide to go along with it. Now, Francesca Albanese did give remarks at the Hague Group event. I do want to show you what Francesca said here.
Absolutely important to be here in a moment that might prove historical indeed. There is hope that these 2 days will move all present to work together to concrete measures to end the genocide in Gaza and hopefully end the erasure of Palestinians in the little that remains of Palestine. Because this is the testing ground for a system where freedom, rights, and justice are made real for all. This hope that people like me hold tight is a discipline we all should have. I have to say that it's not easy to speak after you, Dr. Ahmed. All the more because right now, as a European, I feel a retching sorrow inside me. Because as you were speaking and recounting what, unfortunately, I've had to see happen day by day over 648 days, the European Union decided not to suspend the ties with Israel. The occupied Palestinian territory today is a hellscape. In Gaza, Israel has dismantled even the last UN function, humanitarian aid, in order to deliberate, starve, displace time and time again, or kill a population they have marked for elimination. In the West Bank, including East Jerusalem, ethnic cleansing advances through unlawful siege, mass displacement, extrajudicial killing, arbitrary detention, and widespread torture. Across all areas under Israeli rule, Palestinians live under the terror of annihilation, broadcast in real time to a watching world. There are very few Israeli people who stand against genocide, forever occupation, and apartheid, while the majority of the Israeli society openly cheers and calls for more, remind us that Israeli liberation too is inseparable from Palestinian freedom. The atrocities of the past 21 months are not a sudden aberration. They are the culmination of decades of policies to displace and replace the Palestinian people. And against this backdrop, it's inconceivable that political forums from Brussels to New York are still debating recognition of the state of Palestine, and not because it's unimportant, but because for 35 years, the states have stalled, refused recognition, pretending to invest in the Palestinian Authority, while abandoning the Palestinian people to Israel's relentless, rapacious territorial ambitions and unspeakable crimes.
And it doesn't stop there, because one thing that I do want to add about this, guys, I keep telling you, like this whole expansion, don't forget Benjamin Netanyahu said, and then we will go on to liberate Africa too. They want all of it. They want to go into the African countries and take over there too. This doesn't end with Gaza or the West Bank or Syria or Lebanon. They want all of it. People really got to wake up.
Meanwhile, political discourse has reduced Palestine to a humanitarian crisis to manage in perpetuity, rather than a political issue demanding principled and firm resolution, and permanent occupation, apartheid, and today genocide. And it's not the law that has failed or faltered, it is political will that has abdicated. And today we are also witnessing a rupture. Palestine's immense suffering has cracked open the possibility of transformation, even if this is not fully reflected in political agendas yet. A revolutionary shift is underway, one that, if sustained, will be remembered as a moment when history changed course. And this is why I came to this meeting with a sense of being at a historical turning point, both discursively and politically. First, the narrative is shifting. In Brussels, they might not realize, but it is. Away from Israel's endlessly right to self-defense and toward the long-denied Palestinian right to self-determination, systematically invisibilized, suppressed, and delegitimized for decades. The weaponization of anti-Semitism applied to Palestinian words and narratives, and the dehumanizing use of the terrorism framework for any Palestinian action, from armed resistance to the work of NGOs pursuing justice in international arena, has led to a global political paralysis that has been intentional, and this must be redressed. The time is now. Second, and consequentially, we are seeing the rise of a new multilateralism, principled, courageous, increasingly led by the global majority. And I'm glad many of these countries are here. It pains me that I have to see these include robustly European countries, because as a European, I fear the region and its institutions have come to symbolize, I fear what the region and its institutions have come to symbolize to many. A sodality of states preaching international law, yet guided more by colonial mindset than principle, acting as vassals to the US empire, even if as it drags us from war to war, misery to misery, and when it comes to Palestine, from silence to complicity, from apartheid to genocide. But the presence of European countries at this meeting shows that a different path is possible. To them, I say, the Hague Group has the potential to signal not just a coalition, but a new moral center in world politics. Please engage more, stand with them more robustly. Millions are watching, hoping for leadership that can birth a new global order rooted in justice, humanity, and collective liberation. It's not just about Palestine. This is about all of us. Principled states must rise moment. It does not need to have a political allegiance, color, political party, flags, or ideologies. It needs to be upheld by basic human values, those which Israel has been merciless crushing for 21 months now and counting. Meanwhile, I applaud the calling of this emergency conference in Bogota to address the unrelenting in Gaza. So it is.
We'll pause it there because I think it breaks up a little bit here. That's like kind of towards the end there anyway. But you guys get the point. Like Francesca is warning people again, like this is not just about Gaza, and it really isn't. It can happen to any other country. And it's not just Francesca who's there. Abby Martin is also there. This is what I was telling you guys. Like we need to talk about this more, this Hague Group. So Abby Martin shared this on Twitter with the absolute legend Rima Haas at the Hague Group Summit in Bogota. I don't know if everyone remembers, but Rima, she was on the Freedom Flotilla with, oh shoot, I forgot the girl's name. Gretchen? Yeah, she was on the Freedom Flotilla with Gretchen, and she was one of the activists that Israel decided to keep captive longer than others. Right. But that's Rima right there. And Abby also shared this as well. Thrilled to be in Bogota for the historic Hague Group Summit, where 32 states are uniting to uphold international law and confront Israel's crimes. Encouraged to see so many countries resisting the West's new norm of lawlessness and impunity for genocide. Greta Thunberg. Yeah, I forgot her name. I don't know why, but Greta, yeah. So Abby is there. And this, like I said, you guys, this is a big deal because these are the countries that are saying we don't care what the U.S. is saying. Something has to break here. Now, I want to show you who else is there, and we'll get to this interview that Abby had in just a second as well. Jeremy Corbyn from the UK is also there. So there are quite a bit of notable people that are present for this Hague group. Listen to what Jeremy Corbyn said outside.
Esta manifestación aquí en Bogotá es muy importante. La declaración del Grupo de Hague es muy importante también. Es una declaración del pueblo del mundo en solidaridad el pueblo palestino. Nunca más armas para Israel, nunca más petróleo para Israel, nunca más las empresas voy a Israel. Es importante solidaridad en todo el mundo. El sábado próximo en Londres, una manifestación para Palestina. Es el 27 manifestación nacional durante un año. Posiblemente 200, 300 mil.
I wanted you guys to see this. He said possibly 200 to 300,000 people at this event.
Personas en la manifestación y el pueblo británico en solidaridad del pueblo palestino para paz, para derechos humanos. Ahora, viste en el tele el genocide, viste en el tele la morio de los chicos, viste en el tele la polución del agua y el morio del todo el pueblo en muchas casas y hospitales también. Es horror. Por favor, solidaridad. Por favor, activiste. Por favor, Palestine. Viva, viva, viva Palestine!
Okay, so that was Jeremy Corbyn. And now to go along with this, Abby Martin also had an interview with Al Jazeera. This was very recent as well. A lot of people, if you're newer to my channel, you may not realize this, but Abby Martin had a documentary, and it was Abby Martin's documentary that really made me like, whoa, what the hell is going on with Israel? You know, and that was years ago. But that's why I tell people, even before October 7th, those of us at RBN, we were talking about Israel occupying Gaza. We were talking about that back then, before October 7th. But it was Abby Martin's documentary that kind of woke me up. I had no idea. I was totally in the dark. I didn't realize what the state of Israel really was. I really did not know. But what she says here in this particular interview, she makes the connection between the weapons industry and why this is all profit for them. And the reason why Francesca Albanese was sanctioned by Marco Rubio is because Francesca Albanese listed the companies, and I think this is maybe some of them, listed the companies that were directly profiting from the genocide in Gaza. And they're not all weapon contractors. That's the thing. Some of those Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, is profiting from it. We know Palantir, right? We know that. We talked about that one. But some of these other companies that she mentioned, a lot of people just really did not know. Listen to what Abby Martin says here about the connection with those industries.
The United States government is the leading force of instability, violence, and environmental destruction.
Abby Martin is an investigative journalist and the creator of The Empire Files, an independent media outlet that dissects the inner workings of U.S. empire. Her reporting engages with a hard truth. War is a business, and business is booming.
The military-industrial complex plays the center role. in shaping American foreign policy. It is the shaper of U.S. foreign policy.
And this business model works. In 2023, U.S. defense companies made almost $1 trillion in sales, with a record $765 billion of that coming directly from government contracts. Here's one way that money ends up in their hands. When the U.S. votes to send military aid abroad, like to Israel or Ukraine, most of that money goes to American arms makers. Whether it gets used to fund new weapons or restocking those sent from U.S. reserves, it basically serves as a form of corporate welfare for defense contractors.
It fuels the conflicts. I mean, you look at Gaza and Ukraine, Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, Boeing, all of their stocks exploded. Their profits were massive in 2023 and 2024. Why?
That's important for people to know, right? So here's the thing. I think another thing people need to realize, let's say we're not at war. This is when you may start to see those companies start to have massive layoffs. And by the way, Raytheon, I remember this going back to, was that after September 11? It might have been after September 11. I forget. I remember Raytheon in particular, they have this thing where it's like, okay, like if we have conflict, then they're hiring people. But if things are kind of stable for a while, they have these massive round of layoffs. And they're Raytheon's all over the country. They're not like in just one particular state, but they do that. So when you see those companies like start laying people off, that means that the US is not having enough wars, basically. Let's continue.
Because of these horrific, catastrophic wars. Their shareholders had huge returns on those wars.
It's true. In the year following Russia's initial invasion of Ukraine, the stock price for General Dynamics rose nearly 34%.
34%. So does everybody see this? This is what we were talking about. Once they get into the wars, see how this rises and increases up there. So yeah, like they make a lot of money. But if there's no wars, I remember, I think it was George Bush Sr. who said this. I think it was him, that war is good for the economy. It's good for them. This is what they're really talking about.
1 year after the Hamas-led attacks on Israel, Lockheed Martin saw an increase of over 54%.
And Lockheed Martin is a big one, the biggest one. And that's one of the ones that people talk about, like who to boycott or whatever, who to take that. Lockheed Martin is like the biggest one.
And of course, the other top contractors benefited in their own ways too. These companies aren't just making money, they're becoming too powerful to stop. President Eisenhower famously predicted this problem back in the 1960s. In fact, he coined the term military-industrial complex during his final speech as president.
We must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
Yep.
The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist.
He was right. Today, just 5 U.S. companies dominate the entire global defense industry: Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, Boeing, Northrop Grumman, and General Dynamics.
Those are the ones, guys. Hold on, let me go back. I just want you to be able to see all of them.
On Boeing, Northrop Grumman, and General Dynamics.
And General Dynamics, those are the top 5. Those are the top 5. And I'll tell you something else. With Boeing in particular, in South Carolina, right? Like, you guys know Nikki Haley was working with, had some type of contract with Boeing after her, actually before, wasn't after she was governor? I forget, it was after she was governor, after her failed presidential run. She was working with Boeing as well. A lot of people don't know this unless you live in the area. Boeing has such a hold on jobs in South Carolina that in certain parts of South Carolina, I think there's also one near Charleston area, they're pretty much the big game in town. So it's they're the ones that supply most of the jobs. And that's another thing. But it's one of those things, again, I feel like a lot of people just don't know that unless you live in that area.
Well, the United States is the global arms supplier. The US supplies almost 50% of all the weapons on the planet. There is no other country that parallels the military power and entrenchment of this kind of military-industrial complex other than the US empire.
And that kind of dominance doesn't just mean influence. It means they profit from nearly every major conflict on Earth.
Every single one. So in order for those companies to profit, there has to be war. There has to be conflict. Does everybody get it now? So see, this is what I've been trying to tell people. When people say, well, the president of the United States is running the show. No, like, again, if Eric, I don't know if you can find that pyramid. I know this is last minute. I'm so sorry. But the pyramid I used to show on the show, it shows you where the president of the United States actually sits. They're not at the top. Like, you literally have like the billionaire class, you have big banks, big business, corporations, all of this tied into defense contractors. Don't forget about the shareholders. You guys know I've mentioned on this show multiple times. BlackRock is a big one, right? BlackRock, State Street Corp, Vanguard Group, like, they are shareholders and they have shares in different industries. They don't just have shares within the military industrial complex, they also have shares in media. If you look up the shareholders for CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, then you'll understand why they have the message and the narrative that they have. So when you have companies that are that big and they have their hands in different industries, that is why it is just saying, well, let's just get a president in there that is going to end all of this. In order for this to fully happen, you have to take down the big dogs. Like, you have to take down BlackRock, Vanguard Group, State Street Corporation, who have their hands in so many different industries. Because that's a big, then you got to tackle the media. So it's not just getting a president in that says, no, we're not going to have these wars. As long as these companies are around and they are pushing this to make these profits, this is going to be a problem. Let's continue.
And that's no accident, it's by design. Take NATO, for example. Back in the 1990s, US defense contractors lobbied hard to expand NATO, not just for security reasons, but also to open up new markets for their business. Whenever a new member state joined NATO, they were required to modernize their militaries, usually.
Yeah, so this talks about the connection between NATO and how they have to modernize their militaries. I have to skip through this part, but usually by buying American weapons. So this is why, like, when we said ban NATO, abolish NATO, this is why. And I know some people who are older were looking at us like we were crazy when we were out there at the protest and we said abolish NATO. NATO is not good. You've been brainwashed into believing that NATO is a good thing. NATO is just as much a part of this. So why do you need a North Atlantic? Think about this for a second, folks. Let me skip forward a little bit. We'll get back to Abby. Why do you need a North Atlantic Treaty Organization? Why do you need that if you don't have wars? Well, why do you need that? Why do you need to have this alliance if you're not having any wars? And who's causing most of the conflicts? The West. So think about that, folks. You know, it took me years to finally realize some of these conflicts, the way that it was described on corporate media and the way that they started was not the way these things started at all. Libya is a good example. Iraq is a good example. I had to educate myself on Iraq. Afghanistan is a good example. It's the West.
Collectively allowed to happen in Gaza. And for people to say, oh, it's just far away, we have nothing to do with it, couldn't be further from the truth. It's a US-Israeli genocide. And it's pushed and propped up by US defense contractors.
There you go. And then we can't show that part there. But there you go. That part right there. Now, I want you to take what Abby said here and put it together with what Brian Berlatek said, that the U.S., this foreign policy was already written. This was already decided years ago, regardless of who the president would be. So when people come to you and they say, oh, well, things would have been different if so-and-so would have gotten in there. No, it would not have. Because they're not the ones. People have to see who's really making these decisions. The policy was already written. General Wesley Clark really tried to explain to everybody a while back. And he said, listen, guys, I just want to tell you that they told me 7 countries, 5 years. Or was it 5 years, 7 countries? Yeah. They said, we're going to war with Iraq? Yeah. And he said, why? He's like, I don't know. Just because. Those decisions were already made. And that's a warning to everyone. I think Eric is trying to find that chart. Yeah. So I'll pull up this chart to show you, because what that Hague Group is doing, that's a big deal. You can't, we done with the days of trying to do things through the proper channels. What you see the Hague Group doing, those are real heroes. All those countries, all the people, Abby Martin and all of them, Jeremy Corbyn, all those people who went there, those are the real heroes. Not Donald Trump, not Kamala Harris, not these politicians. What do you see them fight for? This is what I'm saying. Like, what do you see them fight for? Right now, they can't even get out in the streets and march with you guys. The majority of the politicians who are complaining about Donald Trump's policies are not in the streets marching with the people. You can count them on one hand. And this is the reason why. This is what I was talking about. We have been conditioned to believe that the president is at the top. They're not. They're puppets. So if you look at feudalism then and now, you have medieval feudalism on the left. You have the monarchs at the top, landed gentry, clergy, royal ministers, merchants, vassals, and everybody else at the bottom. And that included the peasants, laborers, and conscripts. But this is where we are today. Corporate feudalism, where you have the bankers at the top, the central bankers, the Federal Reserve, the Bank of Japan, the big banks, ECB. After the central bankers, you have the big bankers. That's your JP Morgans, your Goldman Sachs, your Lloyds. Anybody notice where we're going with this? Have you noticed we haven't even made it to the president of the United States yet? Let's continue. Then it goes on. Next, you have your corporate elite. That is your Fortune 500 peeps and your multinationals. Then you get to elected officials. So do you see where the president actually sits on the triangle, the pyramid here? Look, presidents, MPs, and representatives. Everybody else above them is running the freaking show. That's how you get here. The corporate elite, the big bankers, and the central bankers. Those are the people that are really running the show. And that is why I continue to say, if you can't take the billionaire class is a problem. Some people get nervous when I say, no, we should not have billionaires. You should not have billionaires. Do you know what that means to be a billionaire? Do you know how much money that means they have? Do you know how many people that they had to use and abuse to get there? Underneath the president of the United States are the top bureaucrats, commissioners, secretaries, judges. Okay, the people involved in criminal justice, etc. There's Condoleezza Rice there. I think that's supposed to be her. Then you have the top professionals, doctors, entertainers, and clergy. I want to be very clear about something, folks. This is why I keep telling people when we talk about the class system, people aren't necessarily where you think that they would be. At the bottom is everybody else. Workers, students, and soldiers. See, even soldiers would be at the bottom because they don't make as much. Also, looking at this, when we talk about top professionals, that doesn't even include many of us who went to grad school who have a master's degree like me. I'm not even in that category because as an academic advisor, I didn't make much either. Hate to tell everybody this. I don't want to burst your bubble, but if you're looking to go into education, I hope you ain't looking to make much. Just keeping it real. So the point that Abby is making is 100% correct. The president is not at the top. So once you understand that the central bankers, the big bankers, and the corporate elite are above the president of the United States, then you understand why things operate the way that they do. And the billionaire class, the central bankers, the big bankers, the corporate elite want these wars just as much as those weapon contractors. That's the problem. So politicians are not your heroes. Celebrities are not real heroes unless they try to, they save somebody's life or something. But other than that, no. The people that you see right now at the Hague Group, it's Francesca, it's Dan Kovalik, it's Jeremy Corbyn, it's Abby Martin. It's all those countries that got together to say, we are going to find a way to hold Israel accountable on our own. Forget what the West is doing. Those are the real heroes. It's Chris Smalls, who just got on the next Freedom Flotilla to sail to Gaza. It's the previous Freedom Flotilla with Greta and Rima. Those are the real heroes. And people like Pierce Morgan, who are sitting there wagging their finger and saying they just want views, they just want clicks. How about you go get on a boat, Pierce? How about you leave your cushy studio, go get on a boat, sail across the ocean, day and night. You go do it. Go do something for once. So we cannot allow ourselves to be tricked and fooled into believing that a politician is a hero. They're not heroes. They're not saviors. They are servants to the corporate elite, the big bankers, and the central bankers. So kudos to Abby and the team. Let's go to some of the comments here, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Skylar, for the super chat. In Obama's defense, this one time, we were never going to get health care without us voting for a better Congress. As a society, we failed ourselves. Thank you, Stephanie. The Hague Group is our future. We need to let them know the people of the U.S. have their back and that our government does not represent us. There you go. Thank you, Daniel. Sabby, you're amazing and love to every guest. Thank you. Skylar says, hell, the U.S. is even physically smaller in real life than it is on maps. We've been indoctrinated with imperialist lies since we came out of our respective wombs. Thank you, Roger. Multipolar world. I call it a global cooperative. Stephanie says, these are the bravest countries and humans in the world. Mr. Sunshine, spot on, Sabby. Will you get Professor Richard Wolff on the broadcast? You know what? You just reminded me that I do need to reach back out to Professor Wolff. I've had him on before, but I do need to reach back out. Thank you for the reminder. Annie says, hello, Sabby and fam. As a Uruguayan, I'm happy to see Uruguay in the list. I hope this stands and justice finally gets done for Palestinian people. There you go. Thank you, Marlon. There's only one place for Israel to get citizens to populate Greater Israel with anyone. Want to guess? This is your government backseat driving the expansion of Israel. Skylar says, child, I saw the new Superman. I see why Zionists are mad. James Gunn dragged Israel for filth all up and through that movie. I know. Yeah, we're going to get there, Skylar. Thank you, Kevin. Israel deeply regrets strike on Gaza's only Catholic church, CNN today. Yeah, sure they do. Thanks, Marvin. Please have Jake Morphanios on Invest Journalists. No Gaza. Jake, okay, I can look into that. Thank you, Marlon. And all that military spending translates into trillions in national debt, and the corporate sector gets tax cuts to boot. Breakthrough says war is a racket. It always has been. It is possibly the oldest, easily the most profitable, surely the most vicious. It is the only one international in scope. Major General Smedley Butler, 1935. Thank you, Daryl. The saddest thing is these aren't wars. This is one country attempting to practice imperialism upon them with the help of the US and European countries. It's a good point. Thank you, Helpful Harm. They keep saying US empire. No, this goes back to Europe. Glencore owns most all mining for those weapons. They're Anglo-Swiss, wealth older than the USA. Interesting. FM said central bankers are from the monarchs of corporate feudalism. FM knows what's up. Thank you, Kenman. Doctors not that rich, not after loans. And thank you, Staccato. APAC equals assisting international parasites against citizens. You know, I like that better. Staccato. Okay, I think we have Rockfin. Let's bring that up and then we'll go on to the next stories. Thank you for the tip on Rockfin, Roger. I have a plan for rural places like South Carolina to wean themselves off of the MIC. First, make it a CBI amendment state. Second, charter a public bank to raise revenue to pay for infrastructure. Third, run CBIA for a government job guarantee in infrastructure, decommodified housing, public broadband, H2O, sewage, waste management, power grid and transportation, tunnels, roads, bridges, railroad, and ports, all free at point of service. South Carolina doesn't have as look. I lived in South Carolina. South Carolina doesn't have a lot of money. That's one of the other issues. We could do a whole show about that one day. I can tell you about like the economic issues that were there. Okay. All right. Quick announcement, ladies and gentlemen, and then we'll move on with the show. Just a reminder, we will do call in tonight after the show. Just a reminder, guys, we are having our annual back to school donation on August 16th. This is for the Boston Mutual Aid chapter that I work with here. Boston Mutual Aid chapter is hosting our annual back to school donation event at Codman Square Library in Dorchester on August 16th at 12 p.m. Eastern. We will donate school supplies, host games for students, and provide lunch. Please help donate if you can. Yes, guys, help donate to this if you can. I know I have donations for the documentary as well. I put those donations. I'm just pausing that right now because the school thing is coming up. So the students need the school supplies. That's more important at this point in time. So if you can help donate to that, that would be great. We did this event last year and it went really well. So let me just copy here. And I'll put the link to that here in the chat. Thank you very much. All right. Yeah, August 16th, Tia. So people are asking about the documentary. I just met with the editor today. We meet once a week. It's looking really good. It's coming together. I think it's great. I wanted to be done sooner. He told me today, I was like, do you think it'll be done before September? And he was like, I don't think so. Because there's still a lot. We're in the rough draft phase. We're in the phase of finalizing the rough draft right now. And then we have to go back through and see what we're going to remove. If we need to remove anything for sake of time, then the graphics, the lower thirds, the text, all that stuff. I don't want to give too much away. But he did say that he's going to clip something, either like we said 30 seconds to a minute to give you an idea of what this is going to look like so I can show it to you guys when he has that done. So I'll have like a little clip to show you, but it's looking really great so far. So yeah, the goal is to definitely have it done before November. That's kind of important with the storyline. So, but yeah, just wanted to give you an update on that. Okie dokie. We're moving on to the next story. If you haven't done so, please smash the like button. Thank you very much. Yeah, man. So Alex Jones is crashing out in real time. He is really struggling and finding a way to cope with this energy and this rhetoric coming from Donald Trump about Jeffrey Epstein. And I have to show you yourself here so you can see it. Donald Trump is saying that the whole Epstein files thing is a hoax. I told you before he was trying to blame Obama and everybody else. And Alex Jones is having a difficult time with this. You guys got to see this. First, Donald Trump here. Listen to this.
Yeah. Mr. President, I know you want to move past all this intrigue over the Epstein files, but I do want to ask you to clarify something you said this morning. You said this was all a hoax. Has your Attorney General told you this was a hoax? What evidence have you seen of that?
No, it's not the Attorney General. No, I know it's a hoax. It's started by Democrats. It's been run by the Democrats for 4 years. You had Christopher Wray and these characters and Comey before him. And it's a bad group. It started, actually, look at the Steele dossier that turned out to be a total hoax. The 51 agents, the intelligence, so-called intelligence agents, it was a hoax. It's all been a big hoax. It's perpetrated by the Democrats. And some stupid Republicans and foolish Republicans fall into the net. And so they try and do the Democrats' work. The Democrats are good for nothing other than these hoaxes. They're bad for policy. They're bad for picking candidates that can get elected. Like in New York, we have a communist running. He may get elected too, actually, but he'll destroy the city. It's I call it the Epstein hoax. It takes a lot of time and effort. Instead of talking about the great achievements, we've had a great gentleman yesterday, as you know, went on CNBC and he made the statement that Trump may go down as the greatest president of all in the United States. And instead of talking,
you see how he pivoted? See how he pivoted really quick there?
About the things we've achieved. We've had tremendous achievement. They're wasting their time with a guy who obviously had some very serious problems, who died 3-4 years ago. I'd rather talk about the success we have with the economy, the best we've ever had, and all of the things we've done, including in the Middle East. I mean, you see it. Instead, they want to talk about the Epstein hoax. And the sad part is it's people that are really doing the Democrats' work. They're stupid people. Yeah, go ahead.
So a couple of things that I want to add. Well, not necessarily Donald Trump, because he's a billionaire, so he's a part of the corporate elite as well. Yeah, double whammy there. Corporate elite and a part of, policy. So just take that into consideration. Now, it's interesting, though, that he's saying that this is a hoax because he didn't say that earlier on. See, this is how, I just want people to use your brains. Use your brains here for a second. If you felt that the Epstein files were a hoax, why didn't you say that from the beginning? Right? Okay. So it's really bad. It's really, really, really bad. And some people are trying to hold on. Some people are trying to hold on, and they're trying to give Donald Trump the benefit of the doubt. Others are crashing out. And one of them that is crashing out right now appears to be Alex Jones. Alex Jones. Alex Jones is not taking this well at all. He's been making multiple videos critiquing the way that Donald Trump is handling the Epstein thing. But when you listen to Alex Jones in this video, what I want to remind you is that the crackling that you hear a little bit in his voice, that is the sound of desperation. That's what happens when you make a politician your hero. Right? Like Alex Jones really likes Donald Trump. Like there are some people, you guys may not believe this, but there are some people that see Donald Trump as like a real hero. Like they love Donald Trump, right? I saw the same thing with Barack Obama. I saw the same thing with Joe Biden. There are people who seriously idolize politician and they think they can do no wrong. So when they do wrong, it's like, oh, how do I take it? Right? So Alex Jones is not taking this well. This is the first one here.
All right, on the tarmac with Lutnick, Trump's chief economic advisor, you just saw Trump double down like he did last week and say nobody's been looking into Epstein. Why would anybody want to know about that? I don't know, Bill Gates and Bill Clinton and Steve Jobs' wife and all these other world leaders going to this island where there's underage kids and all the Mossad connections and the Israeli prime minister secretly getting caught over and over again, going to his New York lair and Zorro Ranch and all the rest of it. Why would anybody want to know about that You made it a major campaign issue, and your surrogates did to bring all this out. That's why. And so then you say it doesn't exist last week, and you're the person behind it telling people to stop covering it. Then your surrogates all get in trouble, try to fall on their swords. Then you come out yesterday through Laura Trump and then yourself again at a press conference and say, yeah, go ahead and release anything Pam Bondi's got. And then now you say, I don't know why anybody want to look into this. And on top of that, we now know that the video, the supposed proof that he committed suicide that's around a corner, can't even see his cell bay, has been heavily edited, not just a missing minute, but almost 3 minutes and a bunch of edit points with the metadata. Independent groups have looked at it. We've looked at it. It's true. And I'm just like, my God, Trump, you're not stupid. You couldn't come up with a plan better to discredit yourself and to get the Democrats to have congressional hearings and do all this stuff. Yes, we know the Democrats have control of the file. Yes, we know they obviously cut themselves out of it. That's all true. But your attempt to then tell people nothing to see here, move on, is called the mother of all Streisand effects. And Trump, I know you know what the Streisand effect is.
So do you see, this is what happens when you make a politician your hero. Now they didn't let you down. And Alex Jones is really let down here, right? So long story short, it's not about Trump being stupid or not too bright. He just lied. He's a con man. He's conned a lot of people. He's good at this. He's good at conning people and convincing people into believing that he's something that he's not, or he's going to do something that he's not going to do. He's really good at doing that. So he told people what they wanted to hear. And by the way that Donald Trump speaks about Jeffrey Epstein is almost as if he was not someone that he knew very well. Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein knew each other for years. They were closer than what Donald Trump is trying to project. It's not like this is just someone that he saw at a couple of parties every now and then. Oh, no. They were close. And now he's just like, oh, he was a sick person. I don't know about this person. I don't know. Yada, yada. So there's a lot more, I think, that's going to come out about this. And I don't think anybody should leave this alone. Like, I'm noticing like some of the Trump stan accounts that were on X are melting down and just going on block mode, blocking everybody that's criticizing Donald Trump for this. Yeah, you guys, just like corporate media, you sold your soul as well. That's what I say. You sold your soul as well. Okay? Got it. Alex Jones doesn't know what to do.
In case you don't, you need to look into it. That's why Laura Trump, everybody else, is backpedaling. It's why I've heard from DOJ sources that indeed you guys are looking at a special counsel. Good. To the special counsel. Have them investigate it. We know you just got the stuff back in March. The Democrats were hiding it in New York. That's their problem. And of course, it's all stuff they cooked up or whatever, like they've done with Russiagate and the rest of it. But running away from it makes it only that much worse. Obviously, people came to Elon a few months ago and told him this was going on. He got scared, distanced himself. And I'm getting really concerned here at this point because the
Remember when Elon said Trump's name was on that list?
Flopping and the 180ing and the going back is just the biggest train wreck I've ever seen. And it's not in character for you to be acting like this. So we want your agenda to succeed. I've done deep research, never saw you involved with Epstein and criminal activity. So why are you acting like this? You made a deal with the establishment to leave you alone. Have they rolled over? U.S. intelligence we know is involved, Mossad, CIA, MI6, we already know that. But instead, you just continue to say nothing to see here, move along, though go ahead and release information, but there's no information to release. Contradiction for contradiction, flip-flopping to flip-flopping, 180s on 180s on 180s. Jesus, I'm on a roller coaster here. And then, it's only fake news is concerned. Oh, like MTG and Tucker Carlson and myself and Joe Rogan and the American people.
Mark my words. This is the part that I think really hits home for many people. Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, Joe Rogan, Marjorie Taylor Greene speaking out against this, even though Marjorie Taylor Greene voted against the release of the Epstein files, people still be siding with their party. That says something. Everybody is not going along with what Donald Trump is saying. Even some of his biggest supporters. And I think that says a lot. Tucker Carlson, I don't agree with a lot of shit that he says, but he reaches a lot of people on his own. He reached a lot on Fox News. He reaches a lot of people on his own. He reached millions of people. So This is not, it's not good. It's not good for Donald Trump. And to put the blame on Democrats, remember, this is something he said that he would do. And you kind of say you're going to do these things, then people kind of looking at you like, why you not do it? It's so obvious. It's so obvious, you guys. Again, if we were to go back to that pyramid and you look and see who's at the top, the central bankers, then the big bankers, and then the corporate elite, then the president comes in. You don't think some of those big bankers could have been on that island? Hell, don't forget Jeffrey Epstein had that account. That money was going in from JP Morgan. That was the JP Morgan bank. They had to settle the lawsuit with the Virgin Islands because it was JP Morgan that made it possible for that activity to take place on the Virgin Islands any damn way. They financed it. Now they say they didn't know what they were financing, but even if they did, you think they're going to tell you? Come on, man.
This is something that finally got our attention. People finally woke up to this. People finally understand, a window in the deep state with all this. And so you signing on to this and flip-flopping is just self-harming. I mean, please, President Trump, stop. If you want it to go away, just be quiet. It's like there's a gun to his head saying, you better come out and say none of this exists or we'll release it.
This is sad. This is really sad. He's like begging Donald Trump, please, please, please. See, this is why you can't have political heroes.
It's bad. It's getting worse by the minute. And I support you, but we built the movement you wrote in on. You're not the movement. You just surfed in on it. And I'm telling you, man, the Democrats we know are pure evil. My God, they promote pedophilia and everything openly. So why the hell are you acting like this? Please stop now. Please listen to Laura Trump and others. Please listen to Steve Bannon. Listen to Tucker. Listen to me. Listen to us. We care about you. Stop doing this. Stop it. You couldn't be doing a worse thing to yourself and to America right now. Damn it. It's from a place of love. Stop it now. Stop pissing on us and telling us it's raining. Tonight, 9 p.m., myself and Chase Geyser hosting an emergency special show at Real Talk Channels on X covering this. Be sure and join us.
Yeah, see, you can't make politicians your hero again, like they're not real heroes. The real hero is like you guys have to look in the mirror. Like you have to, we talked about this before, people have to save themselves. Like that, you do that by community building, by organizing within your community, mutual aid. This is how we help each other. But the people who are really melting down about this as if they had lost their best friend are the people who looked at Donald Trump as this savior. A lot of them thought he was a hero. He was going to save the day, get the country back on track. And now many people are starting to see, I'm starting to see some similarities from Biden's administration in Trump's administration. And you know why? Now he's still going at it. Alex Jones is still upset, apparently, because he said that Donald Trump said he will excommunicate anyone from MAGA that continues to question his admin's bizarre handling of the Epstein case. You guys have got to see this too.
Trump. I'm glad the Democrats aren't in, and I like a lot of the success you're having, and we're all having together. And your statements about, you people that bring this up don't even deserve to be involved in this movement. You are excommunicata. You are henceforth ex cathedra.
See that he's sharing what Donald Trump, I guess, posted. This is Truth Social. Radical left. Look at the language. The language is so predictable. People should pick up on this now. Radical left Democrats. We all know the Democratic Party is not radical. They're not even freaking left. Let's go to some other buzzwords here, right? Russia, crooked Hillary Clinton. Yes, Hillary Clinton is crooked, but so is Donald Trump. There are all these people in the same club, okay? Donald Trump, there's pictures of Donald Trump hanging out with Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton. All these people, they all roll together. Scam, Jeffrey Epstein, hoax. See, just pick out the buzzword. Hoax, make America great again, radical left, Russia, crooked Hillary, and it's just the same stuff. So this is what he's talking about.
From the mouth of the God King, You are expelled from the Church of the Holy Golden Toad, Donald John Trump. Well, I was never in the Church of the Holy Golden Toad. I do like you being a maverick, standing up for the country. We have the same enemies. I respect your stamina and courage. Been a big cheerleader when I agree with what you're doing. But if I'm being excommunicated, let me be clear, I was never in your church to be excommunicated. So you can't excommunicate me because I was never in your church. I was never in a cult. I never said MAGA was a cult. I said a lot of people want it to be a cult. You know, there are Dallas Cowboy fans that are in a cult and literally commit suicide if they lose, the playoffs.
Yeah, someone already said it. Patrick Saw said, yes, you were.
The Dallas Cowboys isn't a cult, but there are people that have made a cult out of it. So, being a dog owner doesn't mean you're in a dog worship cult, but the Zoroastrians do worship dogs. So, you see what I mean? But now, Trump, if this continues down this line, if he starts saying, I'll excommunicate people, well, you're not allowed, unless it's a cult, to say to people, you either agree with everything I do and don't question things, or you're not in our club, I don't want you. Well, that kind of sounds like a thoroughbred cult to me. And if I keep hearing more talk like that, it's basically where I'm already at. And I already said this. I'm going to give Trump report cards. It's basically what I already do, but we're officially going to start doing it on basic issues. I'm going to get the head of the John Birch Society on, who actually puts out report cards, or the experts on it, the really good report cards. And we'll just start doing a monthly report card on Trump and say, okay, in our view, he did good here, he did good there. You can look at the report card, you can look at where he did bad, and that's it. And so I'm not going to be emotionally invested in this.
But you were. That's why it hits you this way when you become emotionally invested in these politicians, and you really believe that this is going to be the person that's going to make the big change and is going to save the day. And that's what happens when they do something crazy or stupid or foolish. You feel really let down. So he says he's not going to be, get emotion into this, but he already did have emotion in. He was already emotional about it, and he's taken aback. And I think he's just trying to figure out, like, okay, how do I handle this? How do I deal with this? I can't believe, could it be possible that Donald Trump lied to me? Yeah, politicians lie. I told you guys before, I don't trust any politician. You shouldn't either. That doesn't mean you don't have to support their policies. It doesn't mean that you don't have to vote for them. But it's just, you do so knowing that at the end of the day, they're still a politician. People tell you whatever you want to hear to get your vote. We're going a little bit more here.
Because I've never been a joiner. I pride myself in that I'm the captain of my ship, and people support what I do or believe what, a lot of what I'm doing is right, then you support us. But when somebody starts saying, don't question things, or you can't be in our club, yeah, that's a cult. And I'm not a cult joiner. I never have been. My operation's not a cult. My crew's not a cult. You don't have to agree with me around here. People see my hosts saying different things than me. I respect them. I think they're smart. We agree on 90% of stuff, but that's what I want, is to, have good patriots that really care. And we agree on 95% of stuff, but
I'm just going to leave it at that, you guys, because I just got to tell you, he keeps saying, I'm not in the cult. I'm not a cultist. I'm not a cult guy, because you kind of were. Because what I've seen over the years is I've watched this happen on both sides. I've watched both of these parties become more cult-like. MAGA is its own thing and is crazy over there in MAGA world. And yes, there is cult-like behavior in MAGA. Last year, I saw some of that under the Kamala Harris banner. the way people kind of came at me, it was like, if you're going to vote for Jill Stein, like, screw you. You're either with us or against us. And this was coming from grown ass men like Roland Martin. This was coming from men in their 40s, 50s. I was like, seriously? Are we going back to high school? That cult mentality has become worse and worse. Worse and worse. So I've seen it on both sides. That's why I was just like, when Obama was president, this whole thing that you could not criticize Barack Obama, there's a lot of cult mentality. That's why I'm a registered independent. This is why I said, yeah, I don't want to be a part of any political parties anymore. I'm good. Okay. Let me make my own decisions and not just vote for the party because I'm a part of it. So politicians are not real heroes. And I think that if Alex Jones would have gone into this as like, okay, well, this is who I think the better option is going to be, and not like, I love this man. He's going to save the day. And people drawing pictures of Donald Trump as Superman or part of the A-team and all that kind of stuff. Like, those are the people who are very much hurt and let down because you don't want to believe your hero would do something like that. You don't want to believe that they would let you down. Let's go to the comments here, ladies and gentlemen. We got one more story for you, which is really funny. I tell you guys, yeah, we've had some funny moments. Thank you, Kevin. Alex Jones believes Trump about 2020. Yep. Thank you, Kenman. Mad Money. Oh, I think he meant to send this one. Thank you. Ma'am Donnie will let you down as well. Be careful. Same thing. That's the same thing I was telling people. Again, he's still a politician. Thank you, Roger. Layman's terms, I'm term limited. I don't need you. And thank you, Paul. When you got to profess that you're not part of something, didn't do something, you are all in it. I agree. Holy smokes. Shout out to Blueser. Thank you so much for the $200 super chat. Grateful I wound up in this Sabby and R&B bucket and not the Alex Jones one. Bruh was definitely in the cult. It's a cult. Let's get the comment on Rockfin. Thank you, Roger. South Carolina can also invest in cooperatively owned hemp agriculture to be the supplier of textiles. There's not enough talk about hemp. We need to get into that more. We need to bring someone back on to talk about the hemp production. All right. One more story, and then we will head into call-in. If you haven't done so, smash the like. Thank you. If you're new, don't forget to like, sub, and share, just like a Care Bear. Okie dokie. We're talking about real heroes, and Superman is a real hero. Comic book character Superman, hero. In the movies, Superman is a hero. And this time around, in the new Superman movie for 2025, people not feeling Superman too much. Zionists are definitely not feeling Superman too much. Ben Shapiro is definitely not feeling Superman too much. He's not feeling Superman 2025, and there's a reason for that. This movie, which is doing really well at the box office right now, is getting a lot of controversy, and we want to get into it. First and foremost, let's show you why, and we'll get into the segment from Ben Shapiro. Why critics say the new Superman movie is anti-Israel. Decoding the politics of the James Gunn film. Oh, buddy. Oh, God. They did a number with this one, though. Let's get into this part here. We're not going to read the whole thing, but this part. The allegory at the center of the controversy. James Gunn much anticipated Superman reboot is drawing unexpected fire, not for its plot, but for its perceived politics. The film introduces a fictional border conflict between two countries. Boravia, a wealthy, militarized state supported by the US, and Jahanpur, a poor neighboring nation whose civilians face repeated airstrikes and forced displacement. Sound familiar? Yeah. Sound familiar, guys? To many critics and viewers, the imagery is unmistakable. Boravia resembles Israel, Jahanpur, Palestine. The moral framing of the conflict, military might versus civilian suffering, has ignited a firestorm online, especially as the film arrives amid ongoing real world violence in Gaza. Well, and one of those people who is not happy about this is Ben Shapiro. It's so funny because we'll check the comments. The comments on this video, his audience is even coming after him on this one. Ben does not like it. So it's Ben versus Superman. Check this out.
Politics is in this. I think they're deliberately misinterpreting some of the politics that are in there. This is not a movie about illegal immigration. It's not a movie about ICE, Russia, Ukraine, Israel, the Palestinians. There may be references there if you have politics on the brain, but
hold on to that part because he said it's not about Israel or Palestine. That's important because he's gonna bring that up later on. He's gonna go against his own words here.
Other than that, I really don't think that there's that much of this there. That is not my overall problem with the movie. My overall problem with the movie is that you are taking the most iconic American IP of all time, Superman, which is to be treated with a certain level of respect. That doesn't mean it has to be, grand mythology the way that Zack Snyder wants to do. Like, my standard for Superman is not Man of Steel. My standard for Superman movies is 1978 Richard Donner, the best version.
The best version of the movie, right? So we're not going to show too much here because you know how copyright can be. We're going to get to the next part of this segment because what's interesting there is he basically lets you know that, oh, I don't have a problem with this and this in the movie. It's not that at all. It's just that the best version of the Superman is the 1978 one. Okay, so let's say that is the best version of the Superman movie. I really don't give a damn. DC ain't been hitting too well on the movies. Let's keep it real. DC movies, you haven't been hitting too well when we compare them to that Marvel franchise. So let's think about that. The DC shows have been better. Arrow was good. I thought that show Arrow, I thought that was really good. I think they do better at shows. But then later on, he brings up that he has a problem with the plot. And in particular, this part.
Is the plot itself. The plot itself makes very little sense. The plot is basically that Lex Luthor has decided that he is going to make a deal with a foreign politician who the left wants to believe is both Vladimir Putin and Benjamin Netanyahu, but actually is just kind of nothing.
I'm sorry, that face was kind of funny. So listen to what he's saying. Vladimir Putin, Benjamin Netanyahu, listen to this.
Going to invade another country, and Superman stops that invasion. Apparently, Lex wants to use this as an excuse to box up Superman, saying that he's running counter to American foreign policy. Now, we've seen that iteration in other movies, right? That was in Batman versus Superman. You've seen it in other versions of the Superman story, but it's not really taken kind of to its ultimate extreme politically. In any case, it turns out that what he really wants is to annex half of this separate country. He's going to split it with this other dictator. One major plot hole. Lex Luthor is obviously the smartest person in the film. So smart, he can create his own universes. This is a major plot point. And he is concerned about a relatively small piece of land occupied by third worlders. This is his big plan. And later...
Pause. Let's go back to this part right here. Listen to what he just said, the small plot of land.
Seen it in other versions of the Superman story, but it's not really taken kind of to its ultimate extreme politically. In any case, it turns out that what he really wants is to annex half of this separate country. He's going to split it with this other dictator.
Does that sound familiar? He wants to annex part of this country and he's going to split it with another dictator. See, this is the core part that Ben Shapiro has a problem with. He says so himself. Yet at the beginning of this video, he says, not about Israel, it's not about Palestine. But he tells you the biggest problem that he has is this part right here. Listen.
Major plot hole. Lex Luthor is obviously the smartest person in the film. So smart, he can create his own universes. Is a major plot point. And he is concerned about a relatively small piece of land occupied by third worlders. This is his.
Sound familiar? Notice how he referred to the people as third worlders. Because see, this is what Ben Shapiro, this is exactly how he sees the Palestinian people. He doesn't see them as regular people. So do you see how people expose themselves? He said this isn't the problem that he has with the movie, but this is really the problem that he has with the movie. Is because this movie basically gives a big FU to Israel. There's no, I can't think of any other issue right now that compares to this. It's that spot on.
Big plan. And later it turns out that he said, oh, no, I started that war just so that I could get people to turn against Superman. Okay, well, he does that halfway through the film. And then he jails him, and then he leaves him alive and explains this secondary plan that apparently was his primary plan, sort of. But he doesn't kill Superman at the time for a reason that remains undisclosed.
We hear that he killed 27 children, and you're always going to make mistakes, but that's how it is.
The entire plot is a complete mess. If you try to chart it, there's no way to do it because James Gunn doesn't care about plot. James Gunn doesn't care about characters. James Gunn cares about jokes and aesthetics. That's what James Gunn cares about.
Nobody cares anymore.
It's very difficult to make Clark a hero in a situation in which the plot is a complete mess. And again, that's not a rip on Nicholas Hoult, who I love in everything. I think he's great. Or David Corenswet or Rachel Brosnahan. That's a rip on James Gunn as a scriptwriter. It's just.
But so he brings up the plot, right? He brings up the plot is his main problem with the movie. But when he gets into the plot, the problem that he has with the plot is that occupation, these two countries, these two areas that share that border, it's the comparison to Israel and Gaza. That's what he has a problem with. Because even in a movie, which is in real life, but even in this movie, Ben Shapiro couldn't even find the humanity with the people who were oppressed and occupied. He knew exactly the message that James Gunn was trying to deliver. Now, I'm not here to call James Gunn a fantastic director. Nope, not doing that at all. But what I am here to say is, it's very obvious what he was pissed off about. Now, if you're watching a movie and you can't even find the humanity in saving the people who are occupied in the movie, what does that say about you as a person in real life? Pay attention, folks.
Not a good script. Okay, we'll get to more of this Superman review.
We don't care about your sponsorships. And then we get into this part right here.
The people of Jarhampur are brown.
Look at my African American over here.
The people of Bravia are white. Okay, so this is why the left is reading this as Israel of the Palestinians. The reason it doesn't work that way is because we are not made aware that the people of Jarhampur are either wildly terrorism supportive, that they have participated in multiple terrorist attacks on the people of Bravia. They're led by a corrupt dictatorship that murders gay people, right? None of that's in the movie. So it doesn't match up.
So do you see what he's doing now? Right? Okay. This guy, I feel, Ben Shapiro, is probably has been one of the greatest con artists of podcasters in political media. And the reason why I say that is because of this. For years, he spewed this rhetoric about, faith and life and pro-life and honor and all that type of stuff. And this same person who preached that rhetoric for years made it very clear that when there is a genocide happening against the Palestinian children, all of a sudden the pro-life doesn't matter. I'm telling you guys, some of these people were bought off. You think Ben Shapiro, the people that work the Daily Wire, you think those are the only people that haven't been, can we persuade you to do this? Da 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 da. That type of thing. But Ben Shapiro here, He's trying to say, well, because the people in the movie weren't terrorists and they didn't do da-da-da-da, there is no comparison. No. The comparison is the fact that they share a small border and one is occupying the other. That's the comparison. It's really interesting that the same person who said he's tired of woke this, woke that, became very wokety woke after October 7th. The same person who said, I'm tired of the culture wars, I'm tired of identity, politics, I'm tired of the wokety woke, became very wokety woke after October 7th and has been nonstop about it. That's all you hear about over and over again. After being ratioed by his own viewers, just wokety woke. That guy. So he is pissed off about a movie. It's Superman. And this is the reason why he's angry about it. Because of Israel and Gaza, because of that comparison. This is not just a left thing. And I got to be very clear here because Ben Shapiro, again, is trying to continue to, I guess, appeal to his audience or whatever, but you'll see they even ratioed him as well. This is very important. This is not just a left thing. He said, oh, well, the left will want you to believe. Notice he did the same thing about Luigi Mangione. He was like, oh, well, the left thinks. He can't even figure out, or let's say he refuses to try to figure it out, how that there are certain issues that are bipartisan. Yeah, I don't know, like not doing a damn genocide, not killing children, making sure people have health care and they don't go into medical debt. Some of these things are actually bipartisan. And it's not just the left that is against what is happening in Gaza. You have conservatives speaking out against this too. But Ben Shapiro isn't going to tell his audience that because that's not his role. His role is to make sure that this left-right paradigm remains divided and that you understand that he wants you to understand that your real enemy is the people who are on the left. And as long as you keep thinking your real enemy is the people on the left, you're going to totally miss that your real enemy is the billionaire class. That's the problem. So here he is again misleading, convincing people to tell people, hey, the left is saying it's not just the left. Let's continue.
That way. And the idea that Moravia is Israel in this iteration, like a longtime U.S. ally that's randomly invading countries for territorial gain, that does not match up to any of the facts on the ground that we know of at all. That is not.
Excuse me. We'll go back a little bit more here.
Work that way is because we are not made aware that the people of Jarhanpur are either wildly terrorism supportive, that they have participated in multiple terrorist attacks on the people of Moravia. They are led by a corrupt dictatorship that murders gay people, right? None of that's in the movie. So it doesn't match up that way. And the idea that Moravia is Israel in this iteration, like a longtime U.S. ally that's randomly invading countries for territorial gain, that does not match up to any of the facts on the ground that we know.
Yeah, it does match up to the facts on the ground. Israel right now, Benjamin Netanyahu has already made a statement publicly that they are going to occupy more of Syria. They've been bombing Syria. It was Benjamin Netanyahu who presented the Greater Israel Plan in front of Congress and called Iran the curse. It was Benjamin Netanyahu who said that next we will go on to liberate Africa. So I really do think, and I sincerely want to get this across to people as much as possible. There is no negotiating with Israel. There's no such thing. There's no negotiating with Israel. It is a genocidal state, and Ben Shapiro is a big part of that narrative. Ben Shapiro has been brainwashed like a lot of other Zionists to believe that they have this supremacy and they're entitled to that land and nobody else should be there. To the Christians, does that sound Christian-like to you? We already had the discussion that the Israel that's in the Bible is not the same Israel of today. Israel in the Bible is not a physical place. People have been played. You've been played. So he is angry about the Superman movie because it is criticizing Israel. And what I thought was really interesting is he continues to go on to say, oh, no, there's no comparison there at all. Then why are you focusing so much on it? When we talk about real heroes, in particular with this segment, Superman, comic book hero. He is a hero in the comic books. And some people are asking, is it right for Superman to take matters into his own hands? Superman's response is, people were dying. When you have done what you can do by trying to go through the proper channels, and the proper channels are complicit with the destruction that is happening, there is no more waiting to go through the proper channels. And the problem that we see, particularly in Gaza, is that there is no Superman in real life. If Superman were real, those people in Gaza would probably still be alive if Superman were real. So in real life, we don't have a Superman. We have activists that have risked their careers. Some of them have lost their careers. Some who have risked their lives. Some who have lost relationships with people. For those who are not aware, there are many of us that, we don't talk about this much, but there are many of us on this side of the screen that have lost friends because we didn't support Israel. And I'm one of them. This is why when people say, well, they're just talking about Gaza because it's just a grift or whatever. No. People don't understand what some people have lost by having these conversations. I know people who have lost their jobs, people who will never be able to go back into higher ed, academia again because of the position they took to stand with the Palestinian people. People who have lost loved ones because they're standing with the Palestinian people. There are people who have sacrificed quite a bit to stand up for that. So imagine if we did have a real life Superman. Would you want them to wait for the proper channels if the proper channels are complicit in the destruction? This is the difference between revolution and political movement. Because we've had multiple political movements within the country. Like Bernie Sanders was like a political movement, but at the end of the day, the status quo, the establishment came in to stop it. And that is why today, some people will say over and over again that the only path forward is general strike or revolution. So you can't really point your fingers at Superman and say, well, how dare he just take matters into his own hands? Because the world stood by and watched it happen. That's why. Ben Shapiro is the worst. And I'll show you, if you guys don't believe me, we'll just look at this for just a second, because some of these comments are wilding out for real. Let's just go here. I always forget how you see the comments on we have to go all the way to the bottom. Look at this one. Came here for the comments, didn't disappoint. Oh my God. Listen to this. The land was promised to Moravia 6,000 years ago. You see, there's someone being sarcastic. Ben would definitely say Moravia has a right to defend itself. Ben Shapiro disliking a film is the highest praise it could possibly receive. This is his audience. His audience. Interesting, huh? Yeah. But according to him, it's only on the left. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to do call in. Eric, I believe we do have super chats if you want to read those. I'm going to take a quick break. I'll come back and we'll head into call in.
All right, good deal. Now, this is the part of the show where I jump in. Eric T. Red here. I come from the background into the foreground, and we can give Sabrina a little break. While she's on her break, she sets up the call-in room, which we used to do on the app called Call-In, but the app is no more, so now we do it on Zoom, which works well. But yeah, we call it our Zoom Call-In Hangout. She'll be setting up the room, and once she does that, we'll be able to give you the link for that. And you'll also be able to get there at the Sabby Sabs 2 link, but we'll give you that in a minute. And yeah, in the Zoom Hangout, it's where we like to hear from you all, and you can talk about anything on topics on the show. You can talk about anything you want. Whether or not you have your camera on or off is optional, up to you on Zoom. And yeah, we want to hear from you. And yeah, also we can be talking about the money out of politics movement folks that were on tonight, which I really thought they were great. I think they're really onto something there, and I think we're going to be looking at what kind of collaborations we can be doing moving forward. And thanks, Firepower, for the compliment on the shirt. And let's see what we got for some super chat. See what we got here in the queue. Thanks for this one, Mr. Natural, who says, I won't vote for any candidate until I know who all their political donors are. I hear you. I mean, the other thing, too, is if we can fix the system so that these large political contributions are just not allowed to for candidates, right? Then it becomes a very different system. Then you have candidates running. It can be a combination of public financing of campaigns, which we should have, and small dollar donations. And then it becomes a very different world, a very different system. Actually potentially not corrupt system. What a concept, right? And thanks for this one, Kenman, who says, Cal El No. Thanks for this super chat, Willis. He says, Radical Jays have cornered the market on sympathy. Okay. And, I would say like Zionist, who, is tends to be a better word for that. And thanks for this one, Miriam. And she says, hello, Sab, we love you. Thanks for keeping it real as always. Well, thank you, Miriam. Let's see. And also thanks for this one. Sab, you are right. We need to get smarter when it comes to the duopoly, aka Dems and Reps. Both have proven that they do not work for us. They work for themselves, the elite white supremacy millionaire class, and Israel. Yeah, and I would just say, make it the billionaire class, because it's really the billionaires who hold the real power. Like there's a millionaire class of kind of top 1%ers who you can kind of call rich, but they don't really call the shots. I mean, they think they're all that, but the real power is 1,000 times above them in the billionaire class and in the mega corporations, which the billionaires own and control. And thanks to Joey Pelletier for being a member for 24 months. And he says, 2 years. We have the technology to replace most household and industrial items with biomaterials, hemp. We just need the political will. General strike. Yep, I hear you, Joey. And if we could transform our government into one that's not completely corrupt, we could be doing some amazing things. Thank you, Naya. The Harley Quinn animated series on Max is really good. Spoiler, they made Joker Gotham's new socialist mayor and sent billionaire Bruce to prison. Ooh, interesting. And thanks also for this one, Miriam. You are right, Sab. The policies have already been written, and the duopoly are committed to abide by it, but not the third party. And thanks for this one. Knowing that if we truly want a true democracy, we seriously more than ever need to be smarter and vote for a third party candidate. I hear you. And thanks for this one, Marlon. He says, why does that video look like AI plastic hair? And thanks for this super chat. Blues Mama, can you please look at the breaking news? Well, we can talk about it in the Zoom Hangout, which we'll be getting into. And let me bring up this one here on wrong button. Here we go. Bring up this one here on the Rumble. And thanks, Hayataya, for the generous tipped comment on Rumble. And they say, I appreciate your opinion and analysis, Sabby. Well, thank you very much for that. I thank you. The show thanks you. This remind me while I adjust a couple of things on here. Yeah, so I thought we had a great conversation with the MOP folks, Money Out of Politics. We can see if and we can see about continuing that conversation on the Zoom Hangout as we go into there. We had the pyramid graphic on earlier, and I can bring that up again. Let's see, a quick guy here. There it is. There it is. The one thing. Here, let's make that larger. There we go. And yeah, I think there's a lot of truth in this graphic, in this kind of framing of the whole thing. And the one thing I might change on it would be to either change central bankers to the billionaires or put the billionaires above them, because I really think that they are really the top of what's going on in our system. Like when you dig down to the core problem, right? What's the core problem in our whole system is that we have this small group of people, the billionaires, who have this enormous wealth that's only gone up and up and up, and they're using that wealth to corrupt the system. Right? They use some of that money, funnel it back into Congress and into the political system, into the government system. They bend all the rules to their benefit, and then they get even richer. And it's just, rinse and repeat. And so I do think it's really important to recognize that it is this group at the top. And then what you do about that is we start looking at what can we do about it, right? MCDS, right? We say the money, they're using it for the corruption. Then you get to the D, the demand. And the demand is, right, fix the big money, get the money out. And when you look at, okay, so how do we do that? Then you get into the solutions, and you get into things like laws for campaign finance reform, public financing of campaigns, those basic things at the state and national level. And you get into the constitutional amendment, the move to amend style amendment that says explicitly, money is not speech, corporations are not people. That's your solutions. So there is a path to this, and I think it's up to us to get together clearly and get in the streets of it, when the time comes, and demand it. And that's where
I know people are asking about that Trump birthday letter that just broke. I will cover that tomorrow. I'm not live this Sunday because I'm going out of town, but I will be making exclusive vids for the weekend. So that's one of the videos I'm going to probably make that video early in the morning. So you'll have it out tomorrow. All right.
You
Okay.
record and post one. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna record. I'll record that and then post it. So yeah. So all right, guys. Quickly, we gotta get into call in. That link is pinned at the top of the live chat. I'm gonna go ahead and open the Zoom room while I'm on the show. And you know how this works. A lot of you are familiar, but if you want to speak, at the very bottom of the screen, there's an option to raise your hand. And that's how I know to call on you, because I know you want to speak. If you come in a little bit later, you can get that link at sabbysabs2.com.
Or you can use it now.
Yeah, and we just ask that you mute your mic when you enter the Zoom room. We also ask, and I'll say this again on call-in, everyone, please keep your responses relatively short. And yeah, so I'll see you guys there. All right. Have a good night. Keep up the fight.